Hello everyone. I realised that my captions aren't live. So I'm just going to turn those on as well for those of you that can see those. Hello. Hello everybody. Hello. Hello, hello. We alright? Music is drowning. Okay, thank you. That would have been my next question, so thank you. Alright, there we go. Alright, hi. Hello. Hello Sean, hello. Hello Ad, hello. Hello Mia. Mia's first in. 1 squat for every minute late, let's make it happen. How many minutes late was I? 3? I think it was 3. Should we do 3 squats? 1, 2, 3, 4 for luck. I don't know. How are you all doing? Oh my goodness. Hello. Sean, thank you for the heart me. Thank you, thank you. Kay, thank you for the lurk. Glitch, hello. Right. We have a very special guest today. In today's stream, we're going to be meeting Erin Gray. Now, Erin is going to talk about the education system in the States and why it sucks. But not just that. We're going to be getting to know Erin. Erin is a fellow queer person. 30 minutes? No. Susie the Nose. Gray sent me here. I was going to lurk, but I seek it. Oh, well, thank you so much for your lurk. And this is Paul. Paul's so excited for stream. He's like, get off me. She loves it. She absolutely loves it. Since they work again, shall I put them back on? Wait, what's... Oh, yes, Ad. Yeah, the sound things, you mean? We absolutely love lurkers who don't quite lurk. Or lurkers who lurk. That is true. What Mia said. Absolutely. We're going to be meeting Erin Gray. So, like I say, Erin Gray is a fellow queer person. The pronouns are they, she. I got a little blurb here because there's some cool facts about them that I want you to know. They daylight as a university academic advisor. That's one thing we're going to be talking about. And they help students make course plans and answer quite literally any question under the sun. Now, this is what they said to me. They moonlight as an above average gamer that enjoys games from almost any genre. And they do have a Chew Ube, make of that what you will, and can confirm, as long as it piques their interest. You'll often find her either cuddling a plush, soapboxing at least once a stream about how the US education system sucks, or why a collection of pixels on the screen will be one of their many fictional husbands. I also had a little stalk, and they've got some tier list stuff going on, so so that was quite fun to watch. And yeah, this will be our first time chatting to them, so I'm quite excited to have another guest on the show for one, but also just these talks are quite important to me. Having discussions, not just during Pride Month, but having discussions about Pride things and stuff throughout the year is really important. Spreading messages, spreading awareness, just talking about important stuff, you know. Susie says the fictional husband's tier list is always a fun stream, right? I need to catch that live. Anna, there is a cat here. You are correct. You are indeed correct. Let me see. You can see her, right, can't you? She's there in the background, sort of. Hello, new friends. Hello. Hello there. And I'm glad the noises, the sound alerts work again. That's good. That's very good. Thank you for all the likes over on the talk. And I'm not sure if we have anyone on the Chew and then the Yube. I don't know. But we'll see. Mark, hello. Can I mention you in my promotional network launch trailer? You said that the other day, but I have no idea what it's about. So let me know. If you can send me an email, let me know, because I definitely need more info about it. I know you said the other day, and I asked about an email. Just so I'm fully aware of what it is. You are echoing, Mike. Oh. Let me see. Thank you for letting me know that as well. Oh wow, yeah. Why is it turned that on? Okay, that should be fixed. That should be fixed. Like Disney Plus, enough said. Wait, what do you mean? Like Disney Plus, the account? Dom, thank you. Is it Mo Memento? Thank you for following. Oh my goodness, that is a huge alert box that has popped up on you. Oh my god. Alright, it is Paul. That is Paul. That is Paul. Cost you 600 for the Mark. You don't have to boast about how much it's costing you, but if you could tell me in an email what it's about, that would be really useful. Who did that? Anna followed, and Miss Bunny followed. Thank you so much. Thank you. My email is PhoebeOnTV@gmail.com. They're a spur of the moment stream. Wait, what? Wait, where have I been? Wait. During those streams. Oh, Memento. Have I said it right? Susie, thank you for the follow. It's Itsy Bitsy Batsy Spider. Thank you for the follow. Oh my god. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Have I missed anything? I hope I haven't missed anything. Audio from the alerts is louder than you again. Oh, that's changed on here. Oh, I didn't even adjust anything on purple. That's good to know. Huh. Let me see. Is that okay? No worries, Ad. Thank you so much for lurking. Had I gone quieter? Uh-oh. Let me see. Mark, no worries. Wait, so I have to reach out to you? Okay. I'm really bad with DMs. That's why I asked to email. Paul wants out. We're going to let Paul get out of here. Alright. Now then. Right. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me a little better? Get this right up to me. True, Mark. Hello, Soph. Hello. How are we doing? I hope you're well. Now, what's TikTok saying? Voice mod. Yeah, we don't want voice mod on. We don't want voice mod on at all. Not right now. Alright. Alright, hello. Hello to anyone I've missed. I hope you're doing well. Now Erin is getting ready. Erin's refilling water and will be good in a minute. So we should give them a call in a sec. Oh, Mia, thank you. Yes, please. Yes, please. Mark, how about if I give you my email on here? It's literally my username at gmail.com. Because otherwise I have to go searching for through my DMs and I might miss it. Just in case I miss it. Oh, really? Itsy Bitsy Bouncy Spider? They need redoing. They do need redoing. But thank you. Thank you. I have weird thumbnails. I don't have thumbs. I do have thumbs. Sorry. I don't have thumbnails. Thumbnails is what I don't have. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna turn that down, and we're going to chat with Erin. Now, I'm gonna change my screen to this. We've got the lovely Erin on our screen there, and then with TikTok, I'm gonna change that in a sec because we will need to adjust that now. All right, let's make the call. Now then. Oh my god, hello.
Hello.
Oh, you might not be able to see me at the moment because I just realised that my Discord is trying to pick up my other cam, which
no, you're all good.
Of course is in use, but I can use my virtual cam if it wants to load. Yay!
I see it now. Yay!
Okay. All right, so now 1 minute. I'm just getting comfy again. 1 minute. I just need to adjust so that everyone can see your wonderful face on the screen.
Of course. I changed shirts like 3 times because I couldn't decide what I wanted to wear.
I'm like that all the time. In fact, I did that today too. So you and me we have the same problems today. Let me see. I've got you on one screen. Yay! Can everyone see? Everyone say hi to Erin.
Hello. I see my chatters are staring at me, which is normal.
We had a bunch
This
of
is
them
normal behavior.
They seem very friendly so far. Very friendly.
They better be. They better be on their best behavior. I am watching viciously.
They'll be all right, I'm sure. Julia Rose as well. Hello. So, do most people call you Grey as like a nickname?
So that's what my students know me as. They know me as Gray, because that's the chosen name I've currently adopted for myself. But Erin is also like kind of one of my liked names. It's actually a name of a character I made back in like high school.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, we might call you Gray for the duration,
that's fine.
But we'll see. We'll see because I seem to like change. I don't I go back and forth. ADHD. There's like.
I got you. I understand.
Yeah. There's like no like consistent. There's consistency sometimes, but it's very, very specific or not specific. It's you know what I mean. I'm also just changing my source on where are we on this other place. So
I'm gonna adjust my camera so it doesn't make me look like I'm bald and have no hair.
I can see your hair. You got hair.
Okay.
Hello, Aaron.
Sweet.
Hello, friends. Right, I hope that's you all can hear. Everyone can hear. We're all set up. Are we all good? Sorted? All right, good. All right, now we can officially begin. Although, what does that even mean? This is Erin. This is Gray. This is our new friend. And as part of the Pride streams, we wanted to talk to Erin. I reached out in the Pride Guild, and I wanted a few guests to come on and talk all different things Pride themed. not just for Pride Month, but for Pride and beyond. And it was a really good connector, or whatever the word is, in meeting a lot of people who just are really interesting and have really interesting lives, right? And Gray is a university academic advisor, and when they were telling me a little bit about themselves, I was like, oh, okay, I'd like to talk about this. And so stuff about like getting on your soapbox and talking about the US education system, I was like, okay, and the fictional husbands, that's definitely an intriguing thing.
Yes.
That some people were interested in hearing more about that as well. So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, Gray, I gave a little brief earlier, but if you want to say anything that I've missed, or even just hello, I don't know, whatever you like.
Sure. Hi everybody. Hi chat. My name is Erin Gray. I use they, she pronouns. You can call me either Erin or Gray. I respond to both. I hear Gray the most often because that is what my students know me as. As Phoebe has already described, I daylight as a college academic advisor. So I work with university students. So this is in America, this is after you complete your K through 12 education and go off, like you either go to tech school, go to college, university, or you don't have to. It's not required to go to college. In the UK, I think it's after primary schools. Susie might be able to. Susie's my UK bestie. We're twins. Not
nice.
Actually, but we've akined ourselves to twins at this point. But
totally
I believe it's after, like, if you're in the UK, maybe in the rest of Europe as well. I'm not as familiar with the European education system, or anywhere else for that matter. I think it's after like y'all's college, so it's like university over in the UK. Is what I primarily work with. So like usually the age range is like 18 to 24, but we do have a lot of non-traditional students, which means they're outside of that age range. So like a lot of people who will come back or they're working full time will also pursue their education, and we work with all of them. So as long as they're a business student, we work with them. And that job kind of consists with basically primarily like when you're looking at it very, very generally, we tell them what classes to take so they can graduate. That's basically what it is. But as you've already said, we basically answer every question under the sun. So I'll get questions about like, hey, can we make a long range plan to gear me towards graduation? To, I failed my final class that I needed to graduate. What do I do? To like, I'm having crises at home. What do I do? Or how do I make a PDF file and send it to you? So very much a very, very wide gambit of questions. So I love having questions on my stream. So I'm very much used to answering questions.
Cool. And Google doesn't exist for them. Is that right? Google doesn't exist. Google doesn't exist for them. You know, like how do I create a PDF? I feel like I get asked things like this from people that just don't know Google. But that's like because you're the fountain of all knowledge.
Yeah, but like a lot of our students sometimes will treat email like text message. So like even if we respond, like if they were to email me now and I respond back the next day, whenever they get it, they email back immediately. And or like when they get the notification, if they have like Outlook on their phone or whatever, they reply almost immediately, almost like it's a text message conversation. It's like, no, we're not friends in that way. So
you got your life to live as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a lot of other things that we do beyond just that. Like we'll do events and we do different programming, but primarily our job is to advise students so that they can graduate. And then the other half is I moonlight as a above average gamer, slightly above average. I like to play on the easiest difficulty of games because I usually like to play for story. I don't like to play for combat unless if it's like Spider-Man. Then I'll try to do ultimate mode, which is what I'm currently doing in Spider-Man 1 Remastered. Nice. Just because like I'm an achievement hunter. I like getting achievements when I can. and that's like one of the last ones I need to fully complete for that game. But I play a very wide variety of games. Basically, I do fall into specific genres of games, so I do like more story or narrative driven. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a branching narrative like the way Detroit Become Human is or Heavy Rain.
Oh yeah.
It can be a more linear story like God, I'm forgetting like every single linear video game I've ever played, but it can be more linear. That's fine with me. But I do tend to fall more into the narrative side of things when gaming, not so much into like the FPS shooters. But if it piques my interest, even if it's outside of like my genre of normal games that I like to play, then I will give it a try. So like I've never played a roguelike before, and then I was recommended to play Hades, and I played Hades, and I loved my time playing Hades. And I cannot wait for the full release of Hades 2.
So
but
I should actually try Hades then, because I'm not big on roguelites, but there are
Hades has a very strong story. The art style is really good. There's voice acting, if that's also something that you look for. Like it's basically overall, like to me, it's like it's the entire package to me. It makes the combat worth it. And there is ways to modify it so it's a little easier too, so you don't have to like slog through it.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like making games easier. I do. But that's interesting. I'm a bit similar in that I love anything with a good story. I don't mind like, multiple choice. Loved Detroit Become Human, but I only played it once, so I'd love to try it again and see what other things I get and maybe do some completionist stuff with that, because really found that quite good. And I love particularly love stories that make me cry. That's another one. So like Red Dead is one of my favorite games now. I only finished Red Dead 2 last year. Haven't even played Red Dead the first one, but Red Dead 2, just because it was just really good. I don't always like committing to long games, but they're usually worth it for the tears and all of that.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 is one of the games I played back in like 2023 on stream, which was a very long game. And I unfortunately had not necessarily the ending spoiled, but like the big plot twist spoiled for me. And it was I accidentally spoiled myself. So it wasn't like someone came into chat and was like, this is going to happen. Because like I did have that at the very end in the very last stream of the main game. Someone come in and be like, oh, this is going to happen. And I'm like, don't do that. But I did know like, since starting to play it, like, okay, this is gonna happen. I don't know when, and I don't know what's gonna happen after this thing happens. So it didn't have as much of an impact to me as I probably would have been if I had played it without knowing that information.
Yeah. I definitely feel different about knowing things and when it comes, and if it is a big plot twist or even just a big part of the story, I'm like, yeah, cool, well that's happening now. Knew it was coming. Spoilers are a bit weird. Just seeing some things pop up, by the way. Google was banned in my secondary school, so completely understandable. That makes sense, Susie. I didn't even think about that. Me joking about Google being banned, or Google not being in existence, because a lot of family and friends will ask me questions that you can ask on Google. But actually, I didn't even think about that. And hello, Silent Assassin and Ori as well. Thank you so much. Panic, the game.
That's in reference to Hades.
Because
the character models are very, very pretty for like all genders. So it's very much like if you're someone who's attracted to multiple genders or orientations, that type of thing, it's very much Panic.
Okay. Oh, we have to play it then. We're just gonna have to.
And it's also like LGBTQ plus, like there is like, as the main character, there are 2 romance options, 1 male, 1 female. I won't say who, but you do have a choice.
Good. I like that. It seems like a lot more modern games offer that now as well, which is good, because bit more realistic than just opposite sex or whatever people would. I don't even know what the term of that would be now, but certainly not realistic thing for most people or for a great deal of people. So that is good. So gosh, I have loads of even just from all of that, I have loads of questions, because whenever I get to know somebody, I'm like, there's so many routes we can go down. What about even just like a basic question that I've asked quite a few people, and this is a slightly moving on from getting to know you, but also just your experience as a queer person, coming out, getting to know yourself a bit more. Have there been any like real big moments, good, bad, anything in between that you've kind of found along your journey that is important to share with people? That sounds like quite a big question, but even just like, have you felt really supported by somebody? Have you had an awkward moment coming out? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so
lots of ways to answer.
Sure.
Well.
So like I'll kind of go through like the timeline if we will.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't really fully embrace my queerness until I was in college. So I was about 21 at the time, but in retrospect and hindsight, which hindsight is 2020, like there were definitely signs, there were definitely things, because like for the record, for those who don't know me that well, I identify as bisexual, non-binary, and queer. Bisexual was like the first label I adopted for myself, with non-binary and queer coming later in grad school, a couple years after bisexuality. But there were definitely signs when I was younger. If we all remember the very infamous movie Shark Boy and Lava Girl, I wanted to be, and I don't know if this was like because I wanted to be more masculine or because we hate the patriarchy, but I remember having dreams of like, I just want to be like Shark Boy and be able to wander around shirtless and not have people be mad at me. And I was 7. So like just thinking about like 7, 8, 9, that age range. I forget when exactly I saw the movie, but that was like, I don't exactly remember if that was because like of gender, because like I didn't necessarily want to be female, or because like noticing like, well, why do women have to have their tops covered when they're like out and about? Why can men like be exposed and that's fine? And granted, like I was 8. I didn't have the sex talk yet. So I didn't know about like all of those things, but still like part of me is like, okay, like that's probably more of a patriarchy thing, but like also like maybe it's a gender thing, who knows.
Well, yeah,
but I definitely
kind of finding things out,
right, yeah. And definitely like, I'm not sure if this was like a queer awakening, but like I vividly remember in 5th grade watching the American Idol season 8 finale with my mom and dad, and that was the season Adam Lambert was on, and something seared into my brain seeing Adam Lambert with a combination of a commercial for True Blood, and so it hooked me on the obsession of Adam Lambert and vampires, and that was like my entire hyperfixation until senior year of high school.
Oh wow.
Like
okay.
Both of those combined, it was wild. And Adam Lambert was kind of like my first exposure to a gay person, and what does that look like? And from my knowledge, like he was the first openly gay man that I was familiar with, especially like as like a public celebrity. I loved him, and I wasn't sure if it was because like he's very cute, or if it's because like I relate, but I don't know how yet. Not sure. But definitely as I got into high school and my friend group that this friend group, like I always would start the school year eating with them, and then I would drift away, and then I would come back to them. Like I always ended up back to them. And because like all throughout like middle school and high school, like I struggled with like self-identity because I wasn't sure where I fit in. And because like I always like thought I was a band kid, and I was a band kid, but like I always felt like an imposter to being a band kid. Like I didn't feel like I was enough to warrant being a band kid, even though like I was in every single ensemble that I was able to be in. I took music theory, I was taking piano lessons, I was doing all of these things that like, you know, like I mean, and there's no like threshold to being a band kid or a band nerd or an orchestra kid. There's no threshold needed. Like if you play an instrument, in my book, you're a band kid, especially. Yeah. But like it was like, you know, I went to a high school where 740 students were in our graduating class, over 3,000 students in the school entirely. So trying to navigate like all of that, like, and while trying to figure out like who I was as a person was really tough. And then eventually my senior year, I don't know if like something clicked in my head, but like this friend group that I would start every school year with, eating lunch with, like that came my group. Like I finally was like, part of me was like accepting that like, you know what, like I am one of them. Cause I think part of me was like, cause like we were like, I don't want to call like we were outcasts, but like we were weird. We liked video games. We liked anime. We liked all of this nerd culture stuff. And part of my brain was wanting to be popular. Like I wanted to be liked by everyone, and I wanted to be friends with everybody and just be good friends with everybody, that type of thing. And eventually like in senior year, like I kind of said fuck it and just hung out with these people because like I knew like I like something in my head clicked of like they're like me. And being in that friend group, like one of my friends was trans. They're female to male. They transitioned, or like they officially came out like sometime during our high school era. And we had another one in our group who's asexual. We had someone after the fact come transition male to female. I didn't find that out until like a couple of years ago. But like we were all like a little bit, like a bunch of us were like all a little flavor of queer in some way, shape, or form. And at that point, like I was like, I adopted the term bi-curious for like, I was curious about bisexuality, but like I wasn't ready to fully adopt the label of it. And then that wasn't until junior year of college, so about 3 years later. And it's kind of funny because I was dating a guy at the time, and I don't know exactly like what clicked. I'm not sure like what made me have this like epiphany, but like I remember me having that conversation with him. And I think it also should be noted, like I was a music education student in undergrad, so the arts are very, very more prominent with people who are in the community, I think, just naturally. We're more freedom, like I think also for the logic of like we're more willing to like express ourselves and like more in tune in that stuff, but doesn't necessarily have like, you don't have to fall into that quote unquote stereotype. But something clicked, I don't know what. And I remember having the conversation with my boyfriend at the time, like, hey, like, I think I might be bisexual. And how would you feel? Because I wanted to have that open dialogue of like, how would you feel if like I wanted to try, you know, just having intimate relationships with a woman? Not necessarily saying like, I'm going to break up with you to go be with a woman, but how would you feel like as like a one-time thing, just to like, not necessarily to confirm, because like you can be bisexual, you can be pan, be whatever, without actually doing anything with someone of that gender. But like I wanted to experience that. And I remember being late, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and he was very much shutting it down. He was like, if you're gonna have sex with a woman, it's gonna be if you're gonna be having sex with me and a woman at the same time. So basically saying like it's gonna be a threesome or nothing. And because how that conversation came to be was because I actually went to someone in my music fraternity who was openly trans, who was very, very vocal about like sex education and like being inclusive in like all aspects, right? So like I went to them first and was like, hey, I think I'm this. And I remember their reaction be like, am I the first one you told? And I said yes. And they're like, I am so honored that you trusted me enough to be the first person to tell about this.
Nice.
And I don't have Facebook. I mean, I technically have Facebook. I just don't have it on my phone anymore. But like, I hope they're doing well.
Yeah.
They were a great individual, a great friend. But they brought up the idea of like ethical non-monogamy to potentially bring to my partner at the time as like an option, right? And partner obviously shut it down. And I even floated the idea of like, you know, like I don't necessarily know if I'm like fully she, her. Like, I don't know where I am. Like, I don't necessarily think like I'm fully wanting to be female. Not necessarily saying like I want to transition to being fully male, but like
just saying,
you know, like why do I have to be in this box, you know?
Yeah.
And his other comment that kind of stuck with me hard was, well, I don't want to have to guess your pronouns every day and for you to be mad at me if I get them wrong. And I was like, that's not how that works, though.
No.
That's not how that works.
It's a very shutting it down, ignorant thing. Yeah, I can absolutely understand why that would have stuck with you as well and kind of felt really icky.
Yeah, so after that, I didn't entertain the thought of being non-binary after that. I didn't really know what it meant to be non-binary either. So I never entertained it after that. Pardon me, this is my like first time talking today. So
You're all right.
After that, it was like a few months later, I ended up breaking up with him for a multitude of reasons, that stuff being one of the compounding reasons. And then after that, went through senior year, graduated, got into grad school. My grad degree is in student affairs in higher education administration. Layman's terms for I'm going to work with college students, but not as a teacher, but on the other side of the fence.
Yeah. Like
anything but teaching students. So our first class that we take is, at least in my program, is student development theory, which basically every week of the class, we go through a different theory or model that has been proposed about student development in relation to college students. So we talked about students going through development on how they make choices and decisions on disability identity and like all of these very ranging identities. At the time, like I had started streaming. I started streaming on Twitch. I had started becoming more involved with Discord communities. And one of the communities I was in was for Red versus Blue. Shout out, if you know, you know. It's a very long time running series. And they were very open, very, very open, like queer topics, identities, etc. So we go into one of my classes for student development theory, and the topic was queer theory, talking about students' identities within the LGBTQ+ community and how they kind of develop this sense of belonging and identity throughout their college experience. And I'm sitting there in the class and I'm like, this sounds like me. Yeah. This is me. And I feel like a week or a week and a half later, like I was like, okay, I'm non-binary. Because like at that point, it was like I was not in a relationship. Like I had no one I needed to like confirm this with.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm non-binary. And I adopted she, they, and it was my coworkers, because I worked as a graduate assistantship for our graduate admissions office at the university. Like they were completely understanding. I remember being very scared to change my pronouns on my email signature and everything, because I was like putting myself out there in that way.
Big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And at that time I didn't tell my mom or my dad. I ended up telling my mom, I think like a year later. I remember I was anxiously just pacing my apartment because I was like, I just need to call and tell her. like I can't, like it wasn't like I felt obligated to share with her, but at this point like we had developed a better relationship than I had in past with her.
Okay.
So I felt more comfortable sharing that with her. So I rung her up. She's like, "Hey, how are you? What's going on?" I'm like, "I need to tell you something. It's nothing bad." And she was like, "Okay." And then like the fastest words that flung out of my mouth: "I'm bisexual, non-binary." Like, like, all right, it's done. Like super fast. And she was very receptive to it.
Oh, good.
At the time, she made like some like one icky-ish comment of like, because she was asking me what non-binary meant. I'm like, oh, that just means like I conform to the gender I was assigned at birth. That doesn't necessarily mean like I am going to transition to being a man or whatever. And she's like, oh, thank God you're not trans. And it was like, I think now, this was, I think 4 years ago. So like now I think she's like, if I were to one day say like, hey, I want to transition, I think she would be much more, maybe not understanding, but I think she would be much more open to that dialogue. And I think like if I were to say like, hey, what you said 4 years ago was not appropriate, I think she would kind of understand that.
It's been 4 years, and she's probably had a lot to learn and explore and understand since, even if she doesn't understand per se, but like
she does try. She like, I remember like she's a college professor at a different university than where I work. And I remember we were talking about one day on the phone about like there's one of her teaching assistants in her class uses a different name or has a chosen name, but in the system as a different name. So like, which happens a lot at the university level, or like I would say like any level of education, because in the back end of the system, they need to have your legal name, because like for me, at least, it's because I don't have a changed name. So they, for billing purposes, or not billing purposes, but for paying me, they need to have my legal name. They need to have the name on my bank account. Right. So they need to have in the back end of the system your actual legal information to match all of your documents. But like in certain systems, we can have it be front-ended. So like there's a disconnect. So basically in every other university system, at least at my school, it shows my chosen name. And I'm not sure at her university like how that looks, but she was like talking to me about it of like, well, like I want to ask them, like, are they trans? I'm like, you shouldn't ask them, because like
it's not okay.
That's not your place, because if they're trying to pass, if they're trying to pass, like if you ask them, that's not like appropriate. But also like you don't have to be trans to change your name. Like you don't have to be which way or another to Sunday queer to have your name changed, you know? Like it's like whenever people get married and change their last name, it's just like that but with a first name. So like if you're worried that you're not sure if they're getting all the communications or something's going to be if something is messed up in the system, it's a valid reason to talk to them about it. Like, but coming from the point of like, hey, I'm seeing two names in the system, which one do you want me to refer to you as, and which one is should I never say?
There's a more, more respectful way to go about it, isn't it?
Right.
It's nicer to put it that way, for sure.
Right. And it could potentially open that door to have that conversation, because if you're being respectful enough to say, hey, I'm seeing two names, which one do you want me to call you? Because like I know in our system, it can be confusing as hell sometimes to know which one is the chosen name. Because like there is no... We could probably find it somewhere in some back-end system, but like when we pull records, it's like showing one name here and another name on the next page. It's like, okay, I need you to tell me which name, because I frankly don't know. The systems are confusing me. Especially with, we've had a bunch of system changes recently, so it's even extra confusing. But it shows that you're willing to have that conversation, and also that like you're not going to ask questions about why. You're just making sure like, hey, what do you want me to call you? And making sure that the things that need to get done in the systems are not being interfered. Because I think there was like issues with, or she was worried that depending on what the name was, if it was going to impact them getting paid or getting emails and like logistical stuff like that. So her concern was very valid, but the way she wanted to go about it, I was like, let's not do that. Let's course correct.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that she had you to kind of help guide with that and explain also like why it's not okay, because some people can feel quite, I'd want to close up and let the ground swallow me if someone just cornered me about a thing that I'm not ready to share with them or maybe anybody. But I'd be way more receptive if someone kind of came and said, hey, I've noticed this, it's important to say, which would you prefer? Not like, what am I supposed to call you? That kind of is, there's such a difference in the way you word things. And yeah, I'd be way more open to telling someone a bit about myself if they made me feel comfortable around them. It's just a natural thing with us humans. I think most people would agree with that too.
Right. So. And like where I work, we get a lot of students from different cultures and backgrounds. So even if it's not necessarily a change of name where like they have a legal name and then they have a chosen name, it's sometimes like their name it's an ethnic name. It is based in their culture. And like, I am not versed in many other languages. So I know for myself and like other people within our office, it can be a little bit of a struggle to like figure out how to pronounce a name. So I'll do my best when I call a student back, but also I'll be like, hey, did I pronounce it correctly? How do you want me to pronounce it? Or what is the correct way to pronounce your name? And I always feel bad for the students who have like a more complicated name who are like, oh, you could just call me this. Just call me a shorter name. It's like, I'm cool with that. Just tell me how you pronounce it, because like I want to learn. I want to learn how to pronounce this correctly.
That's me too. I do want to know the official way to say it and give it an attempt and not just kind of be ignorant and go, oh well I'm not bothering with that then. It's kind of,
we will ask each other. Like I have one of my coworkers is from Bolivia, so and her family's from Bolivia. So if it's like a more Spanish name, I'm like, hey, how do you pronounce this? And like I've been getting better because like I've worked with more students. I've had to like pronounce names like for like ceremonies and stuff like that now. So I'm like getting better at like, it's more the last names that I struggle with. Like the first names not so much, it's the last names, but like rarely we ever say last names. But yeah, that's kind of like my story of coming out as queer. My dad does not know. I don't think he will ever know. Just because he was born and raised in the South of the United States, so he probably, based on what he's displayed to me, he does have like some sense of like some like racist tendencies. So I would not be surprised if he also has like homophobic tendencies as well. And just trying to talk to him about like anything is talking to a brick wall. He's very much like, it's either my way or nothing. It's like I've had to hold my tongue around him when he said the R slur multiple times. And like from my educational background, like I know the history of where that word's come from, where have we been with the word, especially in the United States. Like they've changed, there was like petitions to change legislature to change that word and move it and change it to something else that's less offensive. And here I am with my dad in public having to just sit silently and can't say anything because I know how he's going to react if I were to call him out on it.
Could he be quite violent and stuff like that?
Not necessarily violent, but like he will argue with you and like continue to talk over you, and because like he insists that he's correct.
He's not
like
he'll be
like,
one of those that will change.
Very narcissistic. And so it's very much like I really can't win with him. And I don't think, and I've talked with this with my mom yesterday, of like there would have to be like a literal come to Jesus moment, like a literal Jesus is descending from the heavens above moment for him to maybe a very 10% chance recognize that his behavior is what's impacting his relationships with not only his children but other people. So yeah, like I've I'm almost there to cutting ties. I just have to get the car officially in my name, which technically it is. I just have to take it to the DMV to change it over.
Right.
But it's very much like he'll probably never know about my identity.
Sometimes I've heard a lot about that. Like sometimes it's better to not. It sounds rubbish, but sometimes it's better to not bother with some people. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like it shouldn't be that way, but
Mm-hmm.
I can understand that some people aren't worth the time, and some people are a bit of a lost cause, which is a shame. Obviously, like I always think it's important to correct people and like make them know where you stand, but there are certain situations where it can impact your safety, or there are like one situation does not dictate all. So yeah, you've got to be understanding of how you approach it, or approaching it in the right way, if that makes sense. Hello to everyone that's joined, by the way. Hello. But
that makes a lot of sense. We'll have students who come in, and again, like we can't assume anything, or we shouldn't be assuming anything, regardless of whatever identity it is that we could be wanting to make assumptions about. But like we don't know what their home life is like. We just had graduation about a month-ish ago, and our director of our LGBT plus resource center, who I'm good friends with, was at our graduation, and I was like very surprised. I'm like, oh hey, like what are you doing here? He's like, well, we have a student in your college who's graduating, who I actually have worked with before, and I know him. And he's like, he's trans. His family is very, I don't want to say stalkery, but they're very like not good. So he was there along with like some other people, a part of like the university life program, to kind of make sure that they don't show up. Thankfully they didn't. The student had a fantastic graduation. I was able to say hi to them and be like, hey, like congratulations and everything. So they had a really good graduation, so nothing happened, but like you will have those situations, or you'll have situations where it's like the complete opposite, who like the parents will come into our meetings with the student and they're just there to listen. They're not there to argue with us. They're just there to just be a part of their child's education, but like in like that respectful manner of like, I'm here to kind of just be like that third party listening ear to make sure that like if you miss anything, like I got it type of thing. Like I haven't worked with those. Like some of my colleagues have seen that a little bit more often than I have, but like those ones are always like really, really nice, because it's like, okay, like because I always get a little scared when parents show up, because I'm usually assuming like they're there to fight with us about something, and it's like, if you're here to fight about money, like we're not the people to fight with about money, because we have no say in that, in the tuition. So go fight that with another office. But most of the time, like family members are there to ask questions, or if something's gone wrong with the student's education. And by gone wrong, like that can mean multiple different things. But when we do have a pleasant parent, it's like a very much a surprise, and it's very welcome.
Sounds nice. It does sound nice. I could absolutely imagine like that instant reaction of, or assumption, even though I know nobody should assume, but knowing that you might get that a lot with people that they've come in, and it's for a negative thing. I can absolutely imagine just automatically thinking, oh God, what's going on? What's wrong?
We often see the most parents when we're orienting new students, because like it's their first time coming to the university, especially if they're freshmen. So like they're true babies to starting college. Like they just finished their primary school, their high school education, and they're now going to college. So we'll often see parents come for that, because it's like they're kind of like sending their kid and they're trusting us to be helping them and things like that. So we often get them because they're kind of like asking all of the like parent questions of like, how do we pay? What's the schedule? Blah, 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 blah.
The base.
I remember a time I met with a student who came from Canada, and his mom was with him, and like I pulled them both back to my office, and they're like, yeah, like we're from Canada, like we flew up like a couple weeks before the semester started, like we wanted to get him settled and we just wanted to meet with an advisor to just make sure everything's like good. And I'm like, we can do that, like that's fine.
Nice.
Like I'm here for this.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons that you're there for. Sounds like quite a fun job. It well, varied, I'm sure, but like
that's what I love about it, honestly, is the variety. Like no 2 days are the same in the week. And whether that be because of like events that we're doing or meetings that we're having, there's always something happening, which for my ADHD brain makes it not boring, at least. Frustrating at times when there's like situations happening or there's not enough time in the day to get everything done, but I'm not bored.
That's for sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. What was my next question? God, this you were talking about like having conversations with students and stuff, or maybe so. You've said like what your job entails, but is there even more to it? Because you're helping people, you're overseeing things, you're making sure everyone's good. Is there even, I mean, there is more to it, but was there anything that you wanted to go into for part of this discussion?
Yeah, so our jobs as academic advisors, we basically are also like bound by university policy. So if university policy says like we do not allow this, and then when you have a student in front of you saying, can I please have this? Because oftentimes like I'm pretty good with the tougher conversations just because of the way I describe it, and this is probably some level of neurodivergence. Do I know what that would be? No, I do not. And I'm not going to self-diagnose myself with having autism. Okay. But I'm either very in tune with people's emotions or my own emotions, or like I feel nothing. It's right. Very much depending on the situation, depending on my own mood, right? So oftentimes, like when we do have to have these tougher conversations, I definitely lean more into being like affective. So I don't really have like emotions about it. Like I'm very, I guess, good in that way of being able to like silo it and just like not get too involved with it. Because like going back to what I just had said about policy, if you have a student who is getting dismissed from the university, which basically means they're getting kicked out in harsher terms, they're getting kicked out. They haven't been performing well academically after numerous semesters. So at my school, it's not like you get below a certain GPA and then you're done, like you're gone. Like there's multiple semesters. And this is after like we also do like a lot of intervention within our office. And that would be like having meetings with their assigned advisor, doing workshops, doing modules, doing surveys. So like we are very, very proactive with our students, trying to make sure that we are giving them every tool possible to succeed. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes the student, either there's just so much going on in their personal life that they literally cannot focus on school, but they're maybe not there yet to admitting that that's what's going on, and they're just trying to push through, or maybe school isn't the right thing for them right now, you know? And when you have a student, like I haven't had to work with a student who's been dismissed yet. I've worked with students who have been terminated from the major, which is a different, similar vein. They haven't been performing well in the major, so they are not dismissed from the entire university, but they just get dismissed from our major and have to pick something else.
Okay.
So
that's not I've had so bad. Well, it's not great, but that's good that they haven't been completely dismissed.
Right. I mean, for some of them, like they get terminated from the major, like right when they're about to graduate. Like they have like a few classes left within the major, but like they save the hardest classes for last.
Oh wow.
And we tell them like, hey, you shouldn't do that, and they still do. Yeah. But some of those conversations are a little bit tougher because they're asking for, like, can I have an exception? They're basically asking for exception to the rule. The rule being the university's policy. Like, if it was our policy within our office or major, maybe we can have some wiggle room, but even then it's not likely, just because of the reason why our policies are so strict, which is because of our accreditation status, which in layman's terms, if we don't have an accreditation, the degree is worthless. Very, very simply, like there's a lot more that goes into it, but very simply, like if we don't have this accreditation, we can't be competitive, and thus your degree does not mean much in comparison to other schools in the area. So we have those tough conversations, and like a lot of the times, or a good amount of the times, I would say, like there are external factors like impeding the student's performance. Like they had a bad breakup, there's police reports involved, there's family stuff going on, they had to travel home, and home being halfway around the world for a good amount of these, even if they're like technically in-state students, they're not technically international, like they live in the United States, they've been here, but like they may have family who live, again, halfway around the world, and they have to go to them. And in those instances, like it's like I have to recite policy and be like, listen, like I know like you had a really rough semester, you had a really rough couple semesters, but like unfortunately, like this is the only option you have for an appeal or for like a request of the policy, but there is a very high chance this will not get approved. And having that conversation sometimes sucks in those cases, especially when it's a student like you know a lot, you've worked with before. With our students, they don't have to meet with their assigned advisor. Every student has an advisor assigned to them, but they don't have to meet with that person specifically, which is kind of nice, because like this week I'm not working. I am taking my vacation from work. So like that kind of sucks for like if we had to have that students had to wait a week to talk to me about something that they could have spent 5 minutes talking to another advisor and get it clear, you know?
It wouldn't be a good system, would it, for
like I think for like maybe like a small, like a much smaller unit, it might work, where like we have a colleague who got hired for another department. Their department only has like I think 300 students max, like that's it. Whereas over here for us, we're like, oh yeah, we got like 4,500 undergraduates.
I was gonna ask
and
you,
like only 12 advisors.
is that how many there are? 12 advisors. So
we're technically should be at we technically should be at 14, but like right now we're in the hiring process, so like we're at 12 technically speaking.
Okay. And then so you have an assigned number of students, but they can go to Egypt. So how many do you get assigned? Well, I should do the math for that. But are they equally shared, or is it not? Because
so they do. My boss is the one who actually does the assignments. She tries her best to make them as equal as possible. There's certain advisors who get either less or more students based on what type of student they are. So like we do have a population who are fully online, and we do have a sub team within our office that is working with the online students. So they manage like the online programs, but not necessarily the classes. We don't do anything with the classes. They work with their population, so they're more likely to be assigned those students just because it's easier for getting them registered for classes. The rest of us, we kind of are just split evenly amongst all of us. I would reckon our caseload is probably right now around 400, 450. So that's how many students we're each assigned until we have our two new advisors who are fully advising.
Okay. That's a lot. I had no idea it was that many, but
I mean, to be fair, not every student is required to meet with us. Like, the only time a student actually has to meet with us is if they have a hold account preventing them from doing something. That's the only time
if they have
a hold. So an account hold is essentially like, you can't do this thing until you do this thing. So we'll put those holds on, like if they haven't completed orientation, as an example. We'll do that if they need to actually meet with an advisor because they're one of those intervention students where they're on second suspension at risk of dismissal from the university. Like they need to meet with us because things are not going well. And this is usually after like multiple already like meetings with an advisor. So it's like just continuing that process. But we try not to put holds on if possible, but we do try, like it's basically our only way to force them. Because if we don't force them, then nothing will get done. They will do nothing.
And there's
Some
only so
will.
much you can
I'll give
help.
credit. Yeah. Some will take the initiative, but like a lot of them won't for whatever reason.
Gosh. Susie says, I love the game of guess how many emails Gray has after Christmas. Because it sometimes could be a lot.
The context is we get 2 weeks off at the end of December before going into the new year. So like
goodness.
Whenever
no
graduation is.
And nobody's working during that time, really. Or
right.
you would
so
hope
like
not,
the
anyway.
entire university's and I make that very clear in my we're physically not here. No one is here. So if you have a question, like I'll talk to you in the new year.
Yeah.
But it is very fun to see how many emails I have. Or even like when I take like this week off of work. So it's going to be fun to come back after the week or 10 days to see how many emails I have.
Gosh.
Granted, a lot of them might be spam emails of like appointment notifications and reminders, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh.
But still, like, it's fun to see. And also, like, a good amount of them will, like, because I put in my out of office message, like, hey, if you have an urgent request or need to meet with an advisor, do this, this, and this. And a good majority of them will actually read that message and go do that thing.
Oh.
And it's like,
nice.
Hey, so I don't actually have to, like, I just need to confirm that, like, you have all your questions answered, and then, like, we're done. We're good.
Leave that, yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, hopefully after this vacation you don't have too many, but I guess you never know.
I do actually like answering emails. I think I'm, like, one of the few people in our office who actually enjoys answering emails. Like, it's my favorite part of the job.
Okay. I guess it's not too... You have time to deal with it. It's not like you're not put on the spot to answer immediately. I mean, there might be people that want an urgent response, but if you're coming back, there is, you can have a bit more time. Thank you, a random person, by the way. Hello. Yeah, I guess that would make sense with emails. The one thing I don't like about emails is sometimes they can get a bit overwhelming, and I might see like so many with actions in that I have to do now, and I occasionally struggle to just do one thing at a time, because also I have autism and ADHD, and I know that the only way to get through it is to do one thing at a time, but sometimes when I see it all there, I'm like, oh my god, why does everyone want
No, that's relatable, because like I could be working on answering an email while also having advisors messaging me about like, hey, can you do this thing for me? So I get completely derailed.
Yeah.
And I can't really like stop that, because like I'm technically a senior advisor, which like the only difference in our office is between an advisor and senior advisor is that I run an initiative. So I run one of our programs, which I don't want to say the name of the program because that's probably going to dox where I live or like what university I work for if you try to Google it. But it's supposed to be a program where it highlights diversity among people and learning about like cultural differences and biases that we may have. And now that program is not really sure if that's going to be happening now because of everything that's happening in the United States.
Oh.
With all of that, so that's a later Gray problem.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's a bit. That's a whole.
Yeah, and that's like
the issue.
That's like the interesting part about working in higher education is because like, as much as like it's very much like about the student experience, it's also about politics in many different ways. Yeah. And I remember having that conversation with my supervisor like maybe a year or two ago of like, I was like, I did not realize how much like politics was in higher education. She's like, oh yeah, like it can get political and like political as in multiple different definitions of the word. Yeah. So like political in this sense of like whatever the current administration says or does is what we have to follow. So if they say we cannot use the word woman, yes, that is a word that was on a list somewhere that we may or may not be able to say in any of our programming. Is we can't say woman, but we can say man. So like, let's find the double standard there. Yeah. If they say that, then we kind of have to with that. Like, I'm going through all of our slides for this program, and like, I'm realizing like, because like I asked her, my supervisor, I'm like, are we allowed to say culture? And she's like, I don't think we're allowed to say culture.
What?
What do you mean we can't say culture? Because like you can mean culture in like many different ways.
Yeah,
And
some of
it's wild.
words that I've heard that were banned or taken out of legislation or whatever, it just sounds ridiculous. It just sounds absolutely stupid, and
there's
infuriating
it's
on
from
wild
the
tight.
it's from the
Anyway.
February 14th Dear Colleague letter from, I think, not Harvard. I don't remember. I wasn't expected to do this much like thinking about work. Well, not at work, but that's okay. I would have come prepared with this article because it's so fascinating of like what they're proposing we can't say. Right. And it's like you're basically like eliminating like half of our vernacular. Like, what do you mean we can't talk about culture? What do you mean we can't talk about woman or female or like words that are like to us are just common language?
Yeah.
But like to these other people, it's like a no word. It's like, huh? Like this doesn't make sense.
It's just silly.
It's so silly, and like that's the one of the political pieces is like we are limited or unbound by whatever the administration does. So right now, like we're at the beck and call of the formerly known as Office of DEI, which that is no longer their name now. They had to completely change their name because DEI is not supposed to be said anymore because apparently that's also a no phrase. But we're at their beck and call to basically be like, hey, look at our look at our like program, but with the words changed, and tell us if this is okay. That's basically where we're at. And if they say no, don't do this, or like this won't fly, then we're not going to run the program. Which they're like, I'm telling my super, cross the bridge when we get there in terms of like how this is description, because like that is the program I'm supposed to be managing and initiating as part of my job duties. But I'm like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there type of thing. Because like it's not a right now problem, that's a later problem. Like let's just focus on like trying to do this and this to see what happens. But
it's just a whole like Pandora's box of problems that never needed to be there, that you're now thinking of having
and
to
like
consider other things that might not be allowed or might be banned. Just utter nonsense.
And one of my lesser favorite conversations, but also like one of my favorite conversations to have with students is like when they ask me why they need to take a class, specifically in the general education category, because we have our business degree or like whatever major the student decides to be, and then we have something called general education, which is basically like your English, your history, your arts, your sciences, like the stuff you would take in like primary school, high school, that type of thing. And I'll have students like, because these are like tried and true business students who are like, I only want to do finance and nothing else. And it's like, I get it, but like you need to take an art. This is the requirement. You need to take an art. And they're like, why do I have to take an art though if I'm going to be a finance student? And I'm like, well, for one, this is the policy. This is the curriculum. I don't make changes to the curriculum. That is above my pay grade. But two, my favorite thing, and like I've had students say to me after I tell them this, that they're like, I've never thought about this before, is that when you look at education in America as a whole, like there's going to be differences across every single state, or even within that state, there's going to be differences, right? Because like you have your rural counties and you have your rich counties, or like your more wealthy counties, right? So you can have, and I use this example a lot with students, like you can have two students, right, going to the same school, and one student could be coming from something like my district, right, that is super wealthy, like it's one of the wealthiest counties in America as of 10 years ago, because I've never checked the metrics since, but I would imagine it's still pretty much the same. You have one student coming from there where like all of the science teachers have PhDs, like it is like top tier, like you are getting like practically the closest thing to a college college education without actually going to college, basically. You can have another student 20 miles away, same county, or like maybe not same county, but like next county over in the same state, getting the worst education possible from their high school because of funding. and the discrepancy and differences between what they're actually teaching students. Whereas like I was able to learn about AP music theory. I was able to take like a college level theory class in high school. Whereas you can have another student, again, 20 miles away, same state, next county over, who can't even get that. There
It's
is
not
no,
even
like
an
they have like
option.
one music class. That's it. Or like
Oh.
they have no access to any of this other stuff, or they're just barely skating by trying to learn basic English comprehension or composition. Same, almost same thing. Then when they come, like let's say they both get accepted to the same university, it is now the university's job to make sure that their degree is the exact same degree. Now, this entire problem would be fixed if there was a standardized curriculum for all 50 states in every single school, but that's not the case. So that means the colleges have to make up that deficit. So you have your AP student who's taken like 15 AP classes, top of the class, knows what they're doing, bringing in all this AP credit, and they're like, why do I have to take an art class? I did all this stuff. It's because your other student, student B, didn't get an art class. They didn't have that.
There was no uniformed way of having that. That's
so
mad.
The colleges have to make up for it, because when a university gets their accreditation, right, they are basically telling employers or whomever else, our degree, this is what they're getting with their degree. They're getting an English education, they're doing this, and this. If that student leaves that college without having, like, let's say, like basic English composition skills, they can barely write an email, they can barely write a paper, as an example, they're going to look at the college and the degree they earned and like, what the fuck happened? This is your fault. They're not going to look at the K through 12 system, because they're now looking at the most recent degree that student earned and being like, what the fuck did you do? Why does the student not know how to write an email? Why can they not do what you said they were going to do? And that's going to affect their accreditation status, which if they're not accredited, their degree is worthless and it's not going to mean anything. So then the university loses money and then they close, etc., etc. So basically what fixes the problem is to standardize the education system to make sure that all grade levels are getting the exact same curriculum. But they're not going to do that for multiple reasons. And I think one of the reasons is it's very systemic in terms of like racism and very deeply rooted, because I think it's been come up a lot, at least over here in America, TikTok and like America, but like, and not to say all Republicans, but like they want, on the opposite side of the coin, they want people not educated to more easily brainwash them into thinking like this is what's going on. And if they're not educated or like have a substantial amount of education, they may be less likely to do the research to think critically. That's why we have a lot of these lawmakers who are like coming after higher education as a threat, because they see it as a threat, because they're like, well, like you have all these liberal colleges. Yes, because like college is what taught me to think critically, like even after. And like honestly, like as an adult, because I guess when you turn 27, at least for me, I now feel more like I now feel like an adult child impersonating an adult.
I mean,
and I, as an adult, and maybe this is because of like how much history we're currently living through and I need it to stop, I need things to be normal, but I've never missed a history class more than, because like I did well in high school. I was like, okay, I wasn't like the best student, but like I wasn't failing and not paying attention. But it's now more than ever where I'm actively wishing I was paying more attention to my history classes, because now like we're seeing these patterns reemerge, and it's like, man, like I really wish like I was like more on top of like what's actually going on and what has happened before, you know? And again, when I have these conversations with students about general education, I'm like, you know, like as an adult, who has been removed from taking classes for like 3 years, or like more like 9 years at the high school level, like I'm really wishing like I paid more attention and took a history class, or like had the opportunity to take a history class in college, but that's neither here nor there.
Different.
But it's like, take classes now that you think are going to benefit you later. And it's like, there's a lot. It's
damn.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about. There's a lot I don't know about the American education system, and there's a lot I don't know about the British education system.
I mean, me neither. I don't.
But I know. I know it's just. It's not. There are a lot of bad things going on, or like things that aren't quite right, and the whole thing you were saying, where it's not really consistent throughout, that someone in a wealthy area can get much better treatment than someone that isn't. It makes sense that it's happening, but it's not okay that it's happening. Does that make
right?
Basically, and it's bad, and it's that also made sense that you were saying someone with a less of an educational background, or less of an academic background, or maybe someone that's not as smart or hasn't done very well, can be easily manipulated. That's like, God, that is awful, but it makes sense for dictators or people of that level to utilize those for their own benefit, of course.
And it's also going to be compounded with AI. AI is just going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Like, that's my other soapbox, but like I can't soapbox about that at work, because like, as of, well, last time like we've had that conversation among my colleagues, I'm like the vocal minority of like,
you're like the
can
the
we
one
not
that
use AI?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, because our university prides itself on sustainability. Like, it is, I believe, either part of the mission statement or like our values of like, we're sustainable. Like, they don't even allow us to buy like water bottles for an event. Like, we have to buy canned bottles or canned things of water. Like, we're not allowed to buy plastic for like those type of things, because of like the sustainability thing of like making sure like recycling, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're creating like 6 different AI things, and it's like, what are we doing?
Do they
like
know?
Why do we need an AI to help them figure out how to read their syllabus? Why is that a thing? Like, what are we doing? Because like, it makes no sense to me. Like, you're taking away the entire purpose of a student going to college and getting an education.
Yeah, this is
like,
kind of
it's
what
just
Mia's just said there as well, kind of to stop the kids learning to think and process information. Like,
exactly.
to stop anyone doing it, it's kind of like, do that for me. Okay, good. I didn't have to do any of the work that was behind it. I'm very much in that mind of like, I'm sure it has its uses, but the resources it uses to do something with AI is only something that I've only recently found out anyway in the last few months. And just the fact that a lot of creators use it for like scripting and whatever other work they have, I'm like, still here,
I could never feel comfortable putting my name on something that was AI generated.
No,
because it's like, it's not me.
No.
It's not my work.
And I like people being genuine. One of my things with my content is I want to talk to someone. I'm like, all right, mate, I want to tell you some news about what's going on in the gaming world, or like, you know, here's what I think about this. I'm not gonna ask ChatGPT to like write me up a script so that I can read it and sound like a robot. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. You know, like, what is this? That I can't do it. And the minute I start sounding a bit rehearsed or like weird, I'm like, no, I need to do that again because it doesn't sound like me.
Right. And like, most of my videos that I do for like YouTube or TikTok are like unscripted. Like, I have bullet points, but like, I like being able to like have that freedom to like crack a joke if I say something that's like, oh haha, this is funny, or
be more relatable.
Be able to go off on that tangent of like, oh, like I'm thinking of this right now and it's reminding me of this. And having those, because I think it makes it, to me, it makes it more authentic. And I know in the future, like I'm going to have more videos that are going to require scripting just because of the nature of the content of them. And I'm thinking primarily of like, I want to do a dissection of Firewatch's music. And for me to be able to do it justice, like I need to have a script, because like I could go off on like tangents and also forget things. But like for like my other content, so like if I wanted to talk about like my top 10 favorite games this year, or like the 10 games that made me cry this year, like that, I don't have to script that. Like bullet points suffice.
It depends on the situation, but yeah, of course it's like it's having that relatability that people can connect with. I think that's going to be a really good thing to have in future when everything's like AI generated, or a lot of people are using AI. That will just be for me at least, will be just boring. Won't make me feel connected to someone in the same way.
Yeah, because it's not authentic.
Someone going
like
off
I'd rather
on
see someone draw stick figures. Like to get their point across, than to have an AI like some
AI. weird thing with weird big thumbs and fingers on there.
Yeah, and it just pains me so much, like how much my supervisor used for work. And it's like, oh, like we'll just throw this into ChatGPT to get some ideas. And I'm like, girl, no, like no, like what are we doing here? And like I was like so scared during my performance review in April that like, because we make goals for the upcoming cycle, and then in the next year we review those goals and then make new goals. I was so afraid that her goal for me was going to be to use generative AI in my work, and then it turned out not to be. It was like something like, oh, like I want you to do like either like read a book or do some sort of like thing about leadership. And I'm like, okay, that is better than like anything I was thinking. I will take this. This is fine.
That's good.
But it's just like, it's so like, what are we doing? And we haven't talked about it as an office recently. And I really, really hope that's because like the higher ups, or like as I like to refer to them, the higher powers that be, are starting to realize like maybe this is not a good idea to integrate this in our office as much as they originally were hoping for. But it's still like, it gives me like, I almost feel like I'm gonna have like an anxiety panic attack like almost anytime like I know it's gonna come up, because it's like I feel it's like one of those things like I'm so passionate about, like even if I wanted to like speak out and say like, hey, this is wrong, like I can probably start crying about it just because of like how frustrated I am that I feel like not many other people are seeing my side of the coin. Because we're both content creators. Like I'm probably the only one. Actually, no, there's like maybe like one or two other people like in our office who like do lean into the more creative space. But like I'm definitely like probably one of the more creative ones, just because of like I'm not in a PhD program, whereas the other person is in a PhD program. God bless her.
Love that.
But I'm very much like seeing in real time like people's like artist jobs being taken away. Game design roles are going away. Games that are fully coming out as AI generated games. And it's like I am physically seeing the impact. And it's like, do I need to start having like individual, like come to Jesus moment with people of like, okay, like let's take your situation. Like, let me make it personal to you. Let me figure out like what's going to make it impact you in terms of, and like, then will you say if this is okay?
I think that's the only way some people will listen. And even then, some people are like, don't care. There's the real ignorant person that's like, don't care, won't affect me. And you're like, no, but it will. And they don't want to hear it. They're just like, don't care. There's a lot of, I don't want to stereotype. There are a lot of people that I've seen as like a younger generation that are like, don't care. But actually, probably most impactful to people that are going to be here after us. If let's not get too existential, but if whatever's going to happen.
Do you mind if
Yeah.
I take like 2 minutes to go to the bathroom?
No, not at all.
Because my ADHD medication makes me drink water, therefore I go to the bathroom.
Oh yes, yeah, I can completely relate. So that's totally fine. I can do a
Sweet.
quick
Okay,
BRB as well.
I'll mute my camera and my microphone.
All right, all right, all right, chat. I'm going to go and fill up my water as well because I'm drinking a lot today. Oh, actually, so I've seen. By the way, I know you all know that we're having a chat, but it's nice to see so many people talking in chat. Thank you so much for giving your thoughts as well. Bring back PowerPoint presentations, yes, and word art. Love word art. Sucks when you see a game that you like the look of and you have to go to the Steam store description and check if AI has been used, especially if it's like heavily used. And the people, yeah, what Mia says, people that say they won't use AI and then they're the ones that do. It's not good. Right, I'm gonna be right back. Okay. Blah 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 blah.
Hello,
Right.
Kibby.
We are
Oh my goodness.
We are back. This is Paul. Paul's a female cat.
Oh, I love that.
And her we call her Paul the girl cat on socials, but she has this weird. She sits half on the arm and half on me, or she'll sit in this little paw on the back. but right now she just wants to be awkward. Paul, you're gonna say hi to
Oh my
everyone?
goodness.
We'll give her a little treat. I've also, what have I done with my chat? I have completely done something with chat. There it is. There it is. Right, let me just grab a dreamy so that Paul can wave. This is a really good discussion. I love learning so much.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing different takes, different things that are going on in different parts of the world, and just things that I'm not living in sometimes is really important to learn more about, because otherwise how are we ever going to know what's going on? So thank you so much for taking your time out as well today. Cause
of course.
This is really nice, and I love it when the conversation just flows and I've got so many questions to ask, and I feel like that's been the case with all the streams that I've been doing, but I'm so grateful that it's not felt like, at least for me, it's not felt like a chore. And I always want to, I think I said to you before the stream, I want to do it justice. Are you going to wave now? Give everyone a wave. Good
Precious.
job. Okay, that's her done.
I had a cat for about a week and then realized I am not equipped to be a pet owner.
No,
I never had pets before. All the pets I had were when I was a baby, so I was physically not
just
helping.
Not ready. Yeah.
And one of my friends was getting rid of his cat named Oscar, so I was like, I'll take him, because like I thought like, oh, this would be fun. I was so anxious having this cat that one of our other friends in our friend group ended up taking him because she fell in love with him, and he's so happy with our coworker now. Like, he's living his best life. Like, he now has like a little bow tie collar. He goes on walks. Like, he is living the best life.
That's cute. So you've gone to a good home. I'm just gonna bring her in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, cats. I mean, animals. I mean, she can be hard work sometimes. Are you okay? song? I don't know. I feel like, have I done something?
Mom's so high right now.
I haven't got any more dreamies for you. She's also been eating our other cat's food quite a lot, so I have to be careful how many treats we give her.
Kitty,
poor Owlie, we've got Owlie, it's like owl, but with IE at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He's an old boy, and if he's not quick, she eats his food. And we have to like separate them sometimes, but sometimes he'll have some left, and she'll like run over and just gobble it all up. So yeah, you like to eat, don't you? And that's fine. That's fine. But maybe we should not steal our stepbrother's food. I guess he's your stepbrother. Anyway, you can just live vicariously through our pets' grace, says Susie.
Yes. That's basically
right.
what I do.
Yeah. Brian, hello as well. I see Brian's over there. And Julie Elrose. I want Word Out Julie. 95. Oh my goodness. That takes me back. Oh my god, 1995 was a very long time ago.
30 years ago, dare I say.
Yeah. I did not want to say that. That's mad. Thank you for saying it for me. Right, where were we? We were talking about the fabulous education system.
Mm-hmm. The not so fabulous education system.
Yeah. How did you end up in this job? Like, what led you to it, or how did you?
So fun fact: I did not know that you could work out of college until I was like a senior in college, and was like, wait, you can get paid to like work with students? Like, that's wild. Who would have thought? Like, I don't know why my brain just didn't click that in my head. Like, I knew like you could work as like a professor, because like that's who I worked with the most. But like I never thought like, because like I worked as a tour guide in undergrad, so like I gave tours of the campus to new or prospective students for the university. Right. And I guess I never clicked in my head like, oh yeah, like the admissions counselor, supervisor, yeah, I can get paid to do the work that he does. Like, it never clicked. But once upon a time, Gray wanted to be a music teacher, and so there actually used to be a piano over here, and then because I got my current desk, I had to relocate it to my bedroom, but there used to be a piano back here.
Nice.
And I wanted to be a music teacher, so I started like doing all the music classes, blah blah blah. And every time I would change school, so like we had intermediate school, which was like 10 through 12 years old, then we had middle school, and then high school. So every school that I changed to, I eventually was like, I'm going to teach this grade level. I'm going to teach this grade level. I never wanted to teach elementary because I don't have the patience for the youngins.
Yeah,
I admire and just pray to those who can and do, because that is a whole thing.
That's my sister
like I did half of my student teaching was grades 3 through 5, so ages 7 through 10-ish, depending on when they go up into the next grade. And it was
be challenging.
They were lovely. Like, the kids themselves were so sweet. Like, I had one who would like, I think gave me art like when I was like leaving, and I was like, you're so sweet. But like, you can't, I'm gonna deny your Instagram friend request because you're 10 and I'm 22, so no, we're not doing that.
Absolutely thank you.
But I'm like, how did that, like, I'm like still shocked that they went and found me, but I'm like also like, why are you on Instagram? You're 10. Like, it makes no sense. But I digress.
Outing yourself to
like, how are like why but anyway, so I wanted to teach music, and I really wanted to be like a band director, so I wanted to teach high school band. And so I went to college, began my music degree, which is technically music education, with a focus in clarinet. Clarinet's my primary instrument. If you told me to whip out my clarinet right now and play something, like, it's gonna sound like hot garbage because I have not played in like
I have a tin whistle, and I play it every stream.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm no good. I'm not. Actually
I have a
good.
recorder. I have a recorder that I pull out and play Happy Birthday on.
Oh, I have like the first 3 notes of Happy Birthday, and then it just falls apart. Or I know the fanfare for Final Fantasy
Nice
stuff. That's
I
the
I
only
will
thing
I
I
also
know. I don't actually know how to play it. I should. It's not a family heirloom, but my family are Irish, and it's an Irish to myself. But
oh, that's fun.
I can't
I
play
love
for
that.
shit. It's more of a meme, really.
Yeah, I have a
I'm not.
redeem on my channel where I think it's for 440 points, channel points, which that number does have significance in music.
Right.
I will play Hot Cross Buns on my recorder,
Oh, cool.
which is like
Nice.
the meme. Like everyone going through the American education system at the very
That's what you
least
have to.
will play on recorder Hot Cross Buns at one point in their life.
Right.
And so like it's a meme. It is a meme. And then if
Very
there's a
good.
birthday, pending that the birthday person is cool with me making a spectacle, then I will play happy birthday for them on the recorder.
That's fair enough. Do you know what? I've never asked before. I've just done it when they've said it's my birthday, and I should probably actually ask for their consent, because I kind
Like
of just play it at them. I mean,
I used to like
we
just do
have
it like, hey, we're gonna celebrate your birthday, but like I know like some people just like don't
some
like to
people
celebrate their
hate.
birthday
Yeah,
or like want like a big deal made out of it. So it's like,
yeah.
hey, are you cool if
Is
I
it
play you
okay?
recorder? If not, totally valid. We'll ignore it. We won't do anything.
I should totally bear that in mind for future. I mean, every time we've done it, it's been good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that
In the future, yeah.
yeah. So very good point to make. Not just force it on people, because not everyone will. Yeah, not everyone will like that. It's more just me making a spectacle of myself. To be fair, honestly.
Okay, so when I first played Mass Effect 1, this was last year. This was last year, and I remember we were in the very opening area. We were going through that whole section, and one of the like the NPCs died. Like not one of your companions, but like one of the NPCs like died.
Mm-hmm.
And someone in my chat was like, "Rip that guy. He was really cute." And I'm like, do we want to hold a funeral? Because like I can play taps on my recorder. So there is a clip somewhere on my Twitch channel of me playing taps on my recorder, but I also played it sideways like a flute. And I I think I started cracking up in the middle of it, so like you hear me laughing in the airways of the tone, and which makes it so much better.
That would make me laugh. Seeing someone play and laughing through it, and it makes it you can hear it in the sound of everything as well.
Oh yeah, it's so
Brilliant.
great. Which like I love modern classical music is what I call it, because like you just do like the most insane shit with your instrument. Like I played a piece in grad school, because like I went to the same university for grad, so I stayed involved with the music stuff. So this was right after COVID, so this was like fall 2020 when we were playing these pieces. So the band director was looking for pieces of music so that there was like a woodwind ensemble and then a brass ensemble, then percussion, to just limit how many people on stage, because we were masking and social distancing. So the woodwinds ended up playing a piece by a modern composer. I can probably find the program. It's somewhere in my binder in my bedroom, because I saved all of my programs for every concert I performed in or went to, at least. And there was a piece we played that was based off of a Black Mirror episode. And I've never seen Black Mirror. I've seen one episode of Black Mirror, but it's the one, for those familiar, it's the one about like the bees and the hive mind, and that's all the things I remember about the context of that.
I think I've seen most of them, but I probably
Run! I think it's from the Netflix. It's like one of the Netflix.
Oh.
That's what my coworker said.
Okay. We've just been raided as well.
Hello.
So we'll have to quickly say. We'll quickly say. Not quick. Hello, Zarwin. Thank you so much for raiding us. I hope you're well. We are currently doing a discussion stream with Gray here, Erin Gray, and we're talking about the education system, but like also a bunch of other things, which is really interesting. And I hope you'll enjoy the stream, because we all are, right, chat? Thank you so much, and everyone go follow Zarwin. you're playing Dune Awakening. How's that going? I hope it's
I saw a clip on TikTok of someone seeing a worm and just screaming, losing their mind.
I would freak out.
It was so funny.
I would absolutely freak out to that.
And this is going to be a probably very controversial take. I hate Dune. Dune and I have a personal beef. I have a very personal beef with Dune.
What's happened?
So, once upon a time, Gray took a science fiction literature class in college. And we read some really great books. We've read Jurassic Park, which I still have on my bookshelf, like many years later. I loved reading Jurassic Park. And then it was our second book that we read, Dune. And to keep on pace for the 15-week semester, we had to read basically 150 pages a week to keep on pace to finish the book when we needed to finish it.
Oh, no.
And
that's not fair.
I was taking 18 plus credits, so I was doing more than like a course load.
Too much.
It was so much.
Too much for the reading as well, because like
right, because like, and I really wanted to like it. Like by the end, I was just like, I need this to be done. Like it's because it's like 700 pages is the first book, and it's like a little tiny guy. Like the print is pretty tiny, but it's. And, like, the ending of the book just made me rage. Because it was, like, all 700 pages for, like, a very blasé cliffhanger. Like, I'm mad. I want a refund for the book that I bought, like, for $5. Like, I want a refund. Honestly. So, like, it's now a meme with my chat that, like, I hate Dune. It's such a meme now.
Absolutely understand. There were
like I can respect it for like being the like one of like the very big parts of science fiction. Yeah. Like not just books but also in movies and now in games, but primarily in books and like creating the science fiction genre. But like I just had like the most terrible experience reading that book. And I'm just like, I can't. I'm sorry.
That is gonna scar you. There were a lot of books that we read in English lit, and some of them I kind of look back fondly on now, but at the time I was like, I don't want to read this. Like, you have to be in the mood for like it's this thing that's forced upon you because you have to study it, but also if you've got like a deadline to read 150 pages a week or whatever, that's so much when you're doing a bunch of other things. Like you where's the time for it all?
Right.
So, I'd absolutely be scarred.
And like that, and we got to choose what our literature class was. So I picked sci-fi lit because like I really did enjoy the science fiction genre. Yeah. And like I still have like a couple of the books we read. I did not save Dune. We read The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which is a P.K. Dick novel. That was a trip, quite literally. Because basically the entire plot is like, okay, so we're in the society and there's this drug, right? And this drug makes you go, like, you have this, like, it's almost like VR, but before VR was a thing, because this was, like, written, like, 50, 60 years ago. Yeah. Where it's, like, you have, like, you're sitting at, like, your desk or at a couch, and you have this, like, play area in front of you, like, on a table, and you take this drug, and you go into this play area. It's, like, so trippy. But then there's, like, another layer of it, where this, like, you take this other drug, and you can infinitely be in this play area, and it doesn't wear off. But then you are now in someone else's mind for them to control. It's so wild.
Oh, what's this called?
The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, I think is the name. Yeah. It's a Philip K. Dick. Okay. It's like considered a classic science fiction literature from my understanding.
Yeah. I feel like
I think he also wrote Dream I Dream of Electric Sheep or something.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so we read
Sounds
that.
Like he's got an interesting mind.
We read, well, I didn't read Hitchhiker's Guide because that was at the tail end of the semester, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not. And I already decided my final paper was going to be about Jurassic Park, because that one, like, I was hooked.
Nice. Zarwin said, "Did you say Jurassic Park?"
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Emery Hunt.
And I've never seen the movie Jurassic Park. Like, I knew, like, the theme
Oh.
because John Williams is John Williams, right?
Mhm.
But I never saw the movie. So, like, this was my first actual experience with the franchise.
Mhm.
And, like, I do know the book's ending is different than the actual movie's ending, which is kind of interesting. And I think the book ending
Okay.
is probably better.
Right.
But we read that one. We also read, I feel like there's one more book we read, but I just don't remember what it was. But I really, I like, ultimately, like, I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't like the professor too much. Like, he was very old school.
Mhm.
But because, like, I remember, like, I was answering something in class and he was like, no, that's not how the author was interpreting this. And I'm like, but that's how I'm interpreting it. That's what you asked. Like,
That's what, that's what people do. It's interesting to see what people take from stuff. Isn't that also interesting to? Well, maybe not to
and
old
that's why I
school
love
people.
games. That's why I love games,
Oh my God,
because
yeah.
like we can play like the exact same game but get like two different meanings out of it.
Yeah, I've been getting that a lot with Final Fantasy games, and like certain things that I thought were not quite right, but there were theories about them, and then diving into those like theories is kind of nuts. But there's
Mm-hmm.
so many different takes on different things. I think that's the wonderful thing about people, about humans anyway, the difference of how our minds work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But to kind of get back to the question you asked, because we took a very long
here?
but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, ADHD tangents are beloved.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did music education in undergrad, and I kind of was having doubts throughout my 4 years of school. Like, do I really want to be a teacher? Is this really what I want to do for a career? And part of that doubt was just because, like, I didn't feel prepared enough to actually go teach.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I had part of my student teaching experience, because the other half of it got blocked by COVID,
yeah,
because I was a
rubbish
spring 2020 grad, so I didn't actually get a graduation. So I didn't actually get to finish properly that semester.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like when I was going to teach those 3rd through 5th graders, like I was like, I have no idea what to do. I'm so lost. I'm not sure how, like, because we didn't really get anything about classroom management. And I taught martial arts when I was younger, like younger as in like when I was like 13, 14, which is very different on how you manage kids in a public school classroom. They are not going to automatically give you respect. And that was what I was kind of expecting. But I also knew like that's not what to expect at the same time. So I remember, like, not frequently, but like very much remember vividly having panic attacks in the bathroom before I teach, specifically with the choir and band, because those were the two like I felt the least confident in, because again, they're 5th graders. I wanted to teach high school, not 5th grade, so I had to like tailor my teaching to them. And just had no idea. And like my co-op, she tried her best, but like I don't think I was communicating well with her of like, hey, I need support. I'm lost and confused. I don't know what to do. Because like the co-op also helps grade the class, that because like we take it for credit, or for our student teaching is a grade that we get at the end of it. And it's like I don't like want to show that I can't do this because I don't want to impact grade, but like I really should have said something. I never did.
It's easy when you look back, isn't it? But at the time, it's like, I guess there were all these stresses of this wasn't quite what you had in mind, so there's a whole load of layers over that anyway. But that's understandable.
So during my senior year, like I had like a like, oh god, what am I gonna do moment. So like during our first week back for senior year, I went to career services and was like, help, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know if I want to do or like pursue this career. So like they were helping me like look at like other things that I can do with a music education degree. And at that time I was like, okay, like, you know what, I'm gonna go get my master's degree because that's what my mom wanted me to do, get my master's immediately. Which, fun fact, at least in the American system, if you go and get your master's immediately, that doesn't necessarily job over other people, because
Right.
they are going to be looking, and this is not all districts, but most districts are going to be looking at your experience level versus your education. Because if you have a higher education, that means they have to pay you more, but you might not have as much experience.
Right.
So if they're going to hire someone, like if they have two candidates, both have neither experience, but one has a bachelor's, one has a master's, but the master's pays more, or it has to be paid more, they're going to hire the bachelor's student.
Right.
Even if you have more pedagogical experience and shit like that.
That's
but
understandable.
I digress. So I was going to go back to grad school to do music composition. So I wanted to compose, I wanted to arrange, because like I frankly just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do career. And then at the time, I was on our student government board as a representative for the College of Visual Performing, and I was a university tour guide. So I had like some avenues into the student life, student affairs thing. So at one of our meetings for being one of our tour guide staff meetings, they invited the director of our Masters of Higher Education program to come and just talk to us. And that's when I had that moment of like, wait, you can get paid to do this? Like, that sounds awesome. Right? Like, that sounds great, because like I would love to like get paid to like work with college students, because like they're awesome, and like I loved my college experience and I want to be able to give it to other people. And so I pivoted. I went and applied, got in, COVID happened, and then I got my degree. And I kind of knew from the start I wanted to go to academic advising and not so much in the student affairs side of things, where student affairs is about like student involvement, Greek life, residence life, housing, all of the stuff that goes into the student's experience that isn't academic. Academic advising straddles the line between academic and student affairs, where yes, we do focus on the academic side of things, like we're telling students what classes to take, we're helping with curriculum in a way, but we also do a lot of student affairs work where we run events, we're working with students through problems, we are doing all of this other initiative stuff alongside of that. And it perfectly straddles the line for me. Because like if you go further into the academic area, then it's basically you're a professor. Like academic advising is kind of like that perfect sweet spot. And honestly, like I loved making my own schedule, and I loved helping other people make their own schedules. Even though within the music education degree there wasn't much flexibility, but like I still thoroughly enjoyed like helping them look through what classes they needed to take to make sure they were on track, because I was a mentor for our underclassmen. So I just kind of really wanted to do advising, and then lo and behold, I ended up in advising. Like, this is still my first job technically outside of grad school. Like I've been here for 3 years, and when I say this full-heartedly with my full chest, like I am so lucky to be in this job at this location, because I've been on the Facebook groups of like other universities and employment stuff, and like there's some shitty universities with some shitty bosses and some shitty and I am so lucky. Like, even though like we have our qualms with not necessarily each other, but like what between us and leadership, or us with university, or even like us with the students, like even though they're those things which you're always gonna have that, like I at least can say I love coming to work every day because I love my coworkers. Like, they're a pleasure to work with. Like, I could not trade them for anything else. Like, they're so wonderful.
That is so important as well, to be in a good situation with people you work with. Thank you for the follow, Stacey, as well, by the way. That it makes a whole load of difference. It really does. So that is a good thing. And yeah, like, it's what you want when you're working in a career, isn't it? You don't want to be miserable. You don't want to have like so many factors against you. That at least that you would hope that would be like the most basic thing, but a lot of people are not in that position. She's snoring. I thought I could hear something. I don't know if anyone can hear Paul snoring in the background. I mean,
precious baby,
fast asleep. But anyway, my sister. So my sister is Handmade Heart is in the chat, and she said one thing she loves about her job too. Amazing colleagues. Whilst it is very challenging for her, like that's one of the things that keeps her going. But yeah,
like
a lot of people
because like sometimes, right, and you sometimes just have those days at work, whether it be like for us, it's a lot of it is like during our peak advising time, which is usually coincided with the start of a semester or registration for the upcoming semester. So those are usually our busiest times of the year. Okay. And we always find a way to like uplift one another. Like I will remember the day, probably for years to come, like the day after the election this past year. So the Wednesday after, where like all of us, because like all of us were like, I think we're all like on the same page. Like we did not want DJT in the White House. Yeah. So like we all came in, like I had cried like twice that morning before even getting to work. And it was a day where we were all in office. That's also another thing. Like I love my job because like I get to work at least 2 days remote and it's great. It's fantastic.
Nice. That's
nice. But we came in and like I had already cried twice that day, like, and it was only like 8 a.m. Like it was not good. And like our one coworker came in and brought what she called it sad donuts. So she got donuts and called them sad donuts because she's like, we need this. And I'm like, yes, we did. Also, we had a new coworker starting that day.
Oh gosh. And the best time to
like we didn't know his vibe yet because again, new coworker, so we didn't know like where he stood, so we didn't want to be like, like we didn't want to talk politics in front of him. Stand, we didn't want to like make him feel like on the outskirts, but like now knowing him, like we could have. But like he was also just like a ball of sunshine. He was just so energetic and just so happy to just be there, and it was just like I work with him daily. Like he's someone on my team, like on. So like he's always like super excited and happy, like even like on the days where like we work remote Monday, Tuesday, and then we're usually in Friday. So like even though like if we're in Wednesday and like let's say I take off Thursday and then we're Friday, he's like, I missed you, and I'm like, brother, it's only been a day. But like it's just like he's just so sweet.
That's
and
nice, though.
I just love my coworkers. They're fantastic. They make the work a lot more enjoyable than it already.
Yeah, that's nice. That is nice. It's like having a second family, right? Like,
like a handful of them, like I meet with regularly, as in like at least once a semester.
Nice.
But like we will hang out and stuff like that. They're awesome.
Yeah. Not. Oh, now you can also hear our other cat crying. Just in case anyone hears a weird noise and isn't sure. Once the semester's still regular, by the way. It's regular enough, I'm sure. My memento is Baboon a dog?
Baboon is her dog, yeah. Aww. She's one of my community members. Hi, me. Baboon, I forget what breed Baboon is, but Baboon is like a very massive dog in a way. Not like massive like a Great Dane massive, but like she does like a lot of photography and tricks with him, so like she'll get him to like stand on his hind legs and like he can in a way look like a cryptid depending on the photo and like the vibe of the photo, but like a Baboon is great. We love Baboon.
Baboon seems like a character, a nice character.
An Afghan hound.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. I bet it's very friendly, but yeah, hungry too. To be fair, Paul steals from my plate, don't you? Yes. Anyways, this is really interesting to know as well. Like, there are certain jobs that I never really thought about growing up, and that is definitely an interesting one that I would have probably been interested in had I known more back in the day. I went through different phases of wanting to be different things. Tons of like completely varied things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a stage where I wanted to be a teacher, and there was a point where I was like, I don't. It's a lot of, depending on what ages as well. It's a lot of certain things I wouldn't like about it. I'm sure there would be certain things I do like about it, and I'm sure it's very rewarding, as people say. But it sounds like a better route to go down that is a bit more enjoyable and not like still challenging in its own ways. It's not like an easy job. I know that I'm pretty sure I would never want to assume there's an easy job at all, and it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's got its own challenges, but it sounds like a really interesting, like quite enjoyable one. And
yeah, it is.
Liaising with people that are, you know, going through their own things, students and stuff. It seems like there are quite a lot of opportunities to connect with people and help them.
Yeah, it is very much a helping profession. Like if you don't like helping others, then this type of role is probably not for you.
Yeah.
I can you can definitely be like more back end. Like our directors, who are our supervisors, they are not student facing, so they help us with initiatives, and doing the assessment piece of things, and like working with constituents across campus, but they don't meet with students. So for them, like that's probably not so much as like a helping role, but it's like a supervisory role, which like right now in my life I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to supervise other people, but also like I love the student piece that much. Because like right now in my life I'm like like I still want to be meeting with students. Like I very much don't want to go down that route of like supervising other people and like lose that student experience piece, because I feel like that will make me not like the job anymore.
That's a huge part of it. That I can imagine that would be the case.
Yeah. And it does. Like any job has like its downsides. Like definitely like during our peak seasons are like really not intense, but like it's a marathon, because like we'll usually, especially when we're going spring to summer, so like we'll have spring break, we'll do 2 weeks of summer registration, then we usually have a week or two in between before fall registration starts. And then we go right into graduation.
Right.
Yeah.
End of the academic year and start of the new. Yeah. I can imagine.
And then we have like after fall registration begins, we'll have graduation, and then immediately summer semester starts. So it's basically like an 8-week stint of just like you are go. And I remember this time around, and like since like I've only become a senior advisor officially in February, so like this is my first time like being a senior and like taking on like new responsibilities while navigating like the current role of the stuff of the job. And I remember like messaging my supervisor, I think the very early May, being like, I'm tired, like I'm physically tired. And like it wasn't like in the way of like I feel out, like I don't want to come to work anymore or like anything like that. And it wasn't like, and I wasn't feeling in the way of like I have so much work to do that I'm panicking about how much I need to do. It was just I am physically just exhausted. And the way my coworker and one of my friends described it was like the adrenaline's worn off, because like again it's that 8-week marathon, and we were getting to the tail end of that, and it's like, all right, now you can kind of relax, and then that's when your body, we're tired, we're not doing good. So like I messaged her like, hey, by the way, like I might be taking off Tuesday, and I did take off that Tuesday, and like she was like, hey, how you feeling? I'm like, I feel much better.
You just need that little time out,
that little break. We get pretty good benefits. So like we have like sick leave and stuff like that, like various different types of leave that we can use. So it's not like I didn't have the ability to. I usually try not to take off work unless if I absolutely need to. But like there's days like when I'll wake up and be like, I'm not feeling it, I'm calling in. Like I'm not coming in.
If you're able to communicate and they're open to that, that's really good, because a lot of
essentially like how leave works with us is that as long as we have it, like we can call out whenever, as long as we have the leave like in the internal system.
Yeah.
We just can't use very specific leaves for like sick leave. So like you're calling day of requesting to like leave or like not come in. Like there's very specific instances where we can't use like a specific type of leave for that.
Yeah.
But like they're usually like open to it. Like again, like I think it's university policy, but like it's like don't ask, don't tell in a way. Like I'm pretty open on like why I'm taking leave, just because like I am, especially like if I'm doing something cool.
Yeah.
Especially I'm like I'm doing a thing and I'm gonna have fun doing the thing. But like like the policy is, at least for our office, and I think the university is, like your supervisor or anyone, you don't have to tell them why you're taking. Like you can just take leave, and they cannot ask you why you're taking leave. So if I were to take leave for whatever reason, like it's technically none of my supervisor's business as to why.
That's understandable. It's nice. Well, it's nice that you don't have to. There's a lot of places that are like that as well, just not everywhere. And so that's also like a good thing about where people work. If there is a bit more leeway or just understanding that we're all humans and that maybe someday you might need a day, but if provisions are there and you know it's not like you're disappearing off the face of the earth and people know about it, I think there's a lot more gets done at places like that where you have the trust or you know, you're able to do that, than places where you'll absolutely get into so much trouble if you dare to ask for a day off because you're exhausted. I've definitely understood that kind of way of working just isn't great if you're not given freedom within reason.
And in my little coworker friend group, like we actually have an inside joke, Jedediah. Jedediah is the person we call for the ones who worked in the coal mines, like way back when unions were starting to like have worker protection and days off and all that. So there was, I think, either a day where myself or my other coworker, we were like, do I take off on this day? Do I leave early? And like our other coworker was like, Jedediah did not work in those coal mines for you not to use your time off. You taking your time off. So now whenever we're questioning, like, should I take leave? Do I not take leave? We're always like, think of Jedediah. Jedediah did not die in vain. Did not start a union for you not to use your leave.
Interesting. Maybe I'm going to use that now with people. I mean, I choose my own hours. I'm my own boss, which is actually probably worse because I'm not very disciplined and I'm not very self-care ethic. Even though I feel that's so hard. I'm like, I try and force it on everyone else. I'm like, you should be hydrated, you should be taking time out, you should be taking care of yourself. Meanwhile,
do as I say, not as I do.
Hour I possibly can, and streaming and making content, and then trying to throw in work and all sorts. But I have a plan. I always have a plan. It just changes quite often. But yeah, I think a lot of us would probably relate to that we can be our own worst enemy. But
right.
I am gonna work on the self-care thing a bit more. I'm trying. I've tried to streamline some things at the moment. So there's a whole process with that as well. Like change can be great, but it can also be difficult to adjust to. So I'm just trying to see what works for me, and then there'll be lots of like trying something, it might not work too well, try something else. I feel like that's quite constant with me. But
yeah, that's why I work when I work with my students who are coming back like suspension or like our obligation for like academic standing. Like I do have that conversation, like it's built into the program to have this conversation, but like we do talk about like how are you tracking your assignments and your courses and stuff. And like those are some of my favorite conversations because like I get to actually use like my own personal experience of like, you know what, like in college, like I had a physical planner and then an Excel sheet, and they're like, what do you mean an Excel sheet? And I'm like, okay,
what do they mean?
Listen.
What do you mean? What? We love an Excel sheet.
That served as like my digital calendar, because like it was just for me it was just so easy to go in and color code and change blocks around because like my schedule was shifting, and then I had my physical planner to like track my weekly assignments and things like that.
Right.
And like I love having that conversation of like being able to bring my own personal experience in, and like also works for them. It's like, okay, so like you tried doing this before, did that work? No. Okay, like let's try something else. So like let's try a digital planner, let's try this. And also reassurance sometimes, like you can have things. Like I have like 5 to-do list apps, I have like a physical to-do list, like I have a Google Calendar and an Outlook calendar. Like you can have like as many things as you want. If it's going to help you get what needs to get done, then that's the important thing. That's what matters. And like I think it's also like just giving them that permission to do that or to do that thing, right? Because like I feel like, especially like when in the typical college student age of like 18 to 24, like they're still like learning who they are and like learning how to be a human like properly, like as an adult. And it's like sometimes it means like undoing some of those things like you may have learned before. And again, this sounds like the things I would hear in therapy right now.
Sorry,
but it's like
I get it.
Yeah, so it's a lot of like just giving them that permission of like, you know what, like if this is the type of planner that works for you, great, we love that, let's keep track of that, and if it's not working, then we can pivot to something else. And also just like I always like to bring up the Finch app because that's what I use like to keep track of my tasks. Because like also because like I like it when it's gamified, but not to the point of like you're gonna get consequences for your actions. That's why I don't like Habitica, and I learned that through trial and error.
I've not tried that. I've tried Finch,
Habitica
though.
is like a gamified to-do list, but like if you don't do the thing on your to-do list, you take like damage to your HP, and I'm like, I don't like that because it's like I don't want to be forced to do something, right? So like I like Finch because one, you have a cute little burb friend that you can name, and it's really cute, and you go exploring and things like that. You give it energy to go explore.
Mine was called Alan, and she was she was a penguin. Yeah, well, they're all birds, aren't they?
Penguin burbs. And it's also just like really great because it's like colorful, and it's like it holds you accountable, but like it doesn't penalize you if you don't get the thing done, which is like what I wanted. And like I've been using it well over a year. And it's been like so helpful to just like keep track of like my daily tasks, because like there are days when I almost walk out the door to go to work and I forget to take my ADHD medication, and then I'll see the notification on my phone like, oh, I need to take my medication before I go to work. I showed up to one day to work without taking my medication. I went right to my supervisor's office like, hey, by the way, I am not medicated today. I cannot gear. It's gonna get done. And she was like super understanding, because like it was the first time I forgot to take my meds. And she's like, do you feel weird? Like I'm like, no, like I feel fine, like I just in my brain like I just it feels like it felt like, now reflecting on it, it felt so much harder to my brain to do something that wasn't like answer an email, see a student, because like those are the basic functions of our job. But like anything beyond that, like to work on an initiative thing, was like a lost cause that day.
I did Finch for a bit, and I didn't realize my sister was asking me about Finch. I thought she was still using it, but I did it where I lost the streak at like, I don't know how many days it was, like
it does allow you to repair the streak, and I'm not sure, like
it can do, but only one day, and I think I was away for a weekend, and so I think
you can also turn that off.
You might be able to. I'm
checking right now because I'm actually kind of curious.
Oh, damn. Mia, you did Finch for ages. I thought you did Finch for like a whole year, Mia.
Okay, yeah, so you can turn it off. And
can you? Okay.
Yeah, there's a setting called Enable Daily Check-in Streaks. You can disable that if you don't want to like be discouraged by missing a day.
Because that discouraged me. And then my thing was, and this is really silly, but for me, I started just going into it daily and then not actually doing the task, but saying I did all the tasks to get all the points and get get her to travel and go off on an adventure. So then it just became, I was like, I'm just spending time doing this, but I'm not actually doing the tasks. So
Right.
but I feel like,
like
I have phases. So like I'll probably sign up to it again at some point and use it for a while. Then we've got a Discord like Productive Buds channel where we might put a to-do list in there and share what we're up to. I have to like change it up all the time because my brain's like, no, I want to do something else now, which is frustrating as hell. But but anyway,
no, that's understandable.
But it had been like absolutely had been a useful app for quite a while for me. So I absolutely, if people are using it and finding it good, then that's great. That's what it's used for, isn't it? Hello, Elhans, by the way. Yeah. But you were in the middle of talking about fiction and like doing things with that and tasks. What was the other thing you were saying about how one of the things you like about?
Yeah, like that's my favorite conversation with students.
Yes.
Talking about like how to manage their tasks or assignments, like reminding them to do self-care and like you can be a human. Like you are not meant to be in school 24/7 365. Like please make sure to like go take care of yourself, like go to the gym, like do whatever you need to do to be a human. And I think they also like in a way kind of like how they need permission to have the multiple ways to track all of their things. They also need permission that like, hey, if you have a bad week, you have a bad week. Like just make sure to like check in with your professors, do what you need to do. But like it's okay because like we're all human and like sometimes like our body is saying like you need a nap, like you need to go to sleep right now. Because like I'll have that like when I'm especially like when I'm working from home because I don't have other people to stimulate me and my brain. But like just the importance of like taking care of yourself and making time to do so. And I think like for
back to basics, isn't it? Like just saying it's all right to go take a step back and just do this very basic thing that maybe when you're so overwhelmed or so like exhausted you're not thinking about. Because I know for sure I'm that person sometimes that I don't realize I can just sit down and go, right, let me just draw up a new list of what I need to do right now, or just focus on one thing, because focusing on one thing is not as easy as it sounds. I know so many people will relate to that, but yeah, I just could really relate to that thing now. If someone just said, hey, why don't you just do it this way or try this, then maybe I'll be like, oh yeah, duh, right.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, I forgot what. I'm
trying to think where you were, because you were going.
Something. My brain got distracted because like I'm thinking of like the next thing I'm gonna be doing after this. And it's like no, like I stay in the moment. God, I forget what it was. It was something in relation to like what we were just chatting about with like, self-care and stuff like that. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's there. It's just I also don't want to distract you with the thoughts.
Yeah, it's like because like I'm thinking of like along the lines of care stuff and working with students in that regard, especially with like students who now I remember. So my favorite thing that my coworker has told students, and now like a good amount of us like now tell our students, especially students who are like gung-ho set on taking like as many classes as they can in a semester while maybe not doing well or like also working full-time or having other obligations outside of school, is the full-time or like the metric of graduating with a bachelor's degree in 4 years was created by white dudes who did nothing but go to school. That was it. Back when like schools in at least in the United States were started, like I don't want to put a date on it, but like I'm thinking like around 16, 1700s is like what I'm thinking. Like all they did when they were going to school was going to school. They were not working. They did not have kids they had to raise or siblings. They were not taking care of their family. Like there was no obligation. They did not have all this other stuff going on. They were only in school. Right. So like if it takes you 5 to 6 years to graduate with a bachelor's degree, that's great. Because like you don't have to match the metric. That metric exists like because of history. It's not because of like this is the standard that like if you don't graduate in 4 years, like you cannot get your degree. Like you graduate when you graduate. Like that's fine.
Yeah, when you think about it like that, back in the day when it was a lot more simple, there were a lot more simple processes or simple things, and now we live in such a world where there's so much to consume, there's so much to do, there's so much added responsibilities we have,
especially like
freedom to that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, especially like with our students, because we do see a lot of adult learners, which is basically like the students who don't fit the norm of like the 18 to 24 age bracket. So like people who are coming back after 30 years of being in the workforce and wanting to continue education or finish something they've started but never were able to finish. So we see like a very wide variety, and especially with like our first generation students, which first generation college student, like the definition may vary based on where you're working, but the premise is that they are the first in their family to get a college education.
Right.
And at least in the United States, like it has like first in their family to get a United States American college education. So our school specifically, even if the student has parents who got a degree from an international school, we still technically classify them as first generation here in America. Right. Because it's first within our education system. So we do see a lot of them, and I think there's a lot of pressure with that population just because like they are the first of their family. It does kind of come with disadvantages because like personally, like I'm a third generation college student. So like my grandmother got a college degree, my mom got a college degree. So I'm the third. And it also helps that my mom was also a professor at a university. So like also that added bonus of like already knowing what office hours were, knowing how important it was when you're agreeing to something with a professor or a staff member to get it physically in writing and knowing how crucial that detail was. Knowing like where to go for resources or like how to navigate a college campus. Like you don't learn that through osmosis. You learn that through like parents, siblings, people around you. And a lot of our first gen students don't have access to that. So they're coming in like not even knowing what office hours are. They're coming in with like kind of that disadvantage in a way. And on top of that, depending on their own family situations, they may be more likely to be having to work to support their family, especially if their family is like a family of immigrants, or they are not from here originally, whatever the case may be. They may be having to work full or part-time. They may be having to be babysitter for their siblings or helping their parents with something if their parents are older, so like they may see a lot more challenges because of their student designation in a way. But not to say that other students of a different designation can't have those challenges.
No,
very similar. But I think there is research to support that first gen students do see a lot of barriers to education, to higher education specifically.
Barriers and challenges. Talking of challenges, what's the most challenging conversation you've had with a student, say, or the most difficult situation?
The one that comes to mind isn't necessarily challenging what we had to talk about, just because like the student just wasn't hearing me. And this was a student I adopted because their advisor left, so I then adopted him as part of my caseload. And when the semester in which he became part of my caseload, he was returning from first suspension. So he was already kind of a little bit down the rabbit hole, dismissal from the university. So we met a couple of times. He was very argumentative towards me, like very like, I am going to do this and you're gonna like it kind of attitude. And I'm like, listen, like, I don't think we should be taking 4 classes this summer, especially with being math focused classes. I know that's what you want to do to accelerate your degree progress, but that's not going to be in your interest. And he ended up skating by spring semester with just a 2.0. So with 2.0 or higher is to stay on good academic standing and not go to the next tier down in losing academic standing. Right. So he just skated by, barely getting by. And summer comes around. I have a meeting with him like a third or halfway through the summer, and I'm looking at his transcript because even though standing hasn't been run, so we don't like, it wasn't finalized that like, yeah, this is gonna happen, but like I was doing the math and I'm like, even if you get an A in your final class, you're going on second suspension. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you were going on second suspension. And there was numerous email conversations back and because he kept arguing about it. And it's like, listen, like there's nothing I can do. Like, unless if you can prove that non-academically something happened to prevent you from doing well in your classes, like this is what's happening because you're wanting a exception to the rule, which we can't necessarily provide. And I remember really I was in a training I was doing like a workshop, professional development thing. And we were like halfway during this workshop and I messaged my supervisor because he emails me in reply with like a 6-paragraph email. And like, I've been like 3 or 4 or 5 emails to this student at this point. And I'm like, supervisor, I need backup because I don't know what to do anymore. Yeah. So she helped me craft like this wonderful 8-paragraph email because like it was basically outlining the entire like timeline of like what happened and like and like a good amount of my notes of like, this is where we told you not to do this. This is where we told you not to do this. You still did it anyway. And I was at that point where I think he realized like, yeah, this is not gonna work. And he was on second suspension. That meant he couldn't take classes. Came back last fall and has been doing great. And he like didn't apologize to me, but like he was like, you know what, you were right. And I'm like, I know, right? That's what I get paid to do.
It's frustrating in a way, but
it was a frustrating conversation. Like
because you knew what you were talking about, and you
right
could kind of see that trajectory of like, I'm telling you this is what's going to happen. I'm sure it's obviously it's up to them, but when you're trying to just help, it's I can imagine how frustrating.
Like this is what I'm paid to do.
Yeah. I guess you can't get you're not supposed to get too emotional about it, but my emotions would be just
I've never gotten frustrated with a student to the point where like, because like I know when I'm frustrated I cry, like that's my release of my emotion when I'm frustrated about something, and I have to be really to have that cry response. Right. Like I've never been to that point. I think like the difficult conversation piece for me is like having to tell students something that they don't yet like that's like on the bad scope of things. Like, so if it comes to like they're terminated from the major, they're going to get dismissed, or like some sort of like academic progress is going to not happen, and having to be like that bearer of bad news. Because oftentimes like when students come to talk to us, they've already heard that this is happening, or they already have an inkling like, oh yeah, I'm going on suspension, I'm going to get terminated, what can I do? They're already coming in knowing. Then you have those students who, for one reason or another, just don't know or haven't been told yet. So they're kind of like almost ahead of the ball in a way, but like also take a while to like process grades and stuff like that. So like we can do the math and be like, yeah, this is not going to work. Or like we can look at the grades and be like, okay, so you haven't got the email yet, but this happened. And for me, it's the harder part of that conversation is I don't know how the students go. So I can't prepare my own reaction to their reaction because I just don't know how they're going to take that information. So that, and because like my ADHD like always likes to prepare in advance about like, okay, this student's going to react this way. Like I need to plan accordingly. I can't do that because it changes with every student and like how they're going to take it. I remember one time, I was working with a student and we had to do an override because she was looking to take a third attempt of a business class. Context, you have three chances, 3 strikes you're out system with business classes. So you can take any business class within the major 3 times. If you don't get a C or grade or higher upon your third attempt, you cannot pursue the major anymore. You have to switch out. So, and they get 3 attempts per class. So it's not 3 attempts all around class. Right, okay. So she's looking to get the override so she can register for her third attempt, because this is part of our proactiveness with our students. Like, hey, we had a conversation about this being your attempt. Like, you knew going into this would be your final attempt class. That type of mindset. So she comes in, I'm looking at the transcript, and I see 3 grades for this class. And I'm like, hang on a second. What happened? Like, why did we not know that we're already in our third attempt / wanting a 4th attempt? Like, what happened here? What ended up happening was because she took one of her attempts at our Korea campus, because we have a campus in Korea. It's like a partnership type of thing, but we have a campus in Korea. So like, it's basically the same course it's like a very easy international experience. In terms of like bringing the credits in, because it's the same school. So like, there's nothing crazy. So she took that class at our Korea campus, but when we did our initial outreach for this course, we didn't factor in the Korea campus grades. No. So
that's quite a bizarre situation to be in.
So I was talking to her about it, and I'm like, okay, listen, I'm going to see if they'll allow this, because it's unfair on you to not have aware of this, but I'm not sure what they're going to do. And she was actually pretty okay with it. And like, some students are, because they're like, I didn't want to do business anyway. So like this, because like oftentimes or not, we'll get like students in the major who are like, my parents wanted me to be business. I don't want to be business.
I was going to say that could be.
Like, she didn't fight it. She just kind of like took it and then it just transitioned out of the major. So like I'm like, okay, like maybe she wanted to be not business. So, but it was that like, oh God, that fear,
that difficult,
of like, how are you going to respond to that?
How will it go? Peng, hello, by the way. That would be difficult, but at least it didn't go too bad. It went all right. As far as it goes, that's a good sort of good outcome.
It's a good outcome for like a shitty situation.
Yeah. What about, this is a bit of a pivot as well, because about queer space in relation to work. Yeah. I know we were talking about some of these kind of questions. What about how does your queer identity impact how you interact with students or co-workers? I want to ask all the questions at once. All right, how about students first?
Sure. So
is there anything that, hopefully it's not there are no negatives here, but
I wouldn't call them negatives. I think a lot of our students, because we do have a large Middle Eastern Asian population at my university, so for a lot of them, I think working with someone who uses not she, her, or he, him pronouns is new to them, because a lot of times, especially because like in certain university systems, they don't see my pronoun set just because of like that system just doesn't have it yet. It's not there. It's not like presently actively there right in front of their face next to my name. So partially I can't blame them for that. So I'll often get students, especially like students who want to like be professional, which I'm here for it. Like I'd rather have a student try to be professional than just be like, hey, sup, bro, like in an email, like we're having a text conversation. Like, no, no, thank you.
Yeah, there's a line.
So I'll often get students who will like Mr. or Miss me, like Mr. Miss last name. And I'm like, hey, I don't like my last name. Just call me Gray. And especially if they use like Mr., like I'm like, like fine. I just hate Miss. I hate Miss, Mrs., the feminine version. So I'm like, hey, by the way, especially if it's like email conversation, I'll be like, hey, by the way, feel free to call me Gray, and my pronouns are they, she.
So it's a kind of usually like starter or a thing to go by.
And also like they just might not be aware. Fine, benefit of the doubt. Like it's not like it's in our email like header or anything like that. Like it's in my signature, but it's like if they're emailing me for the first time and they just grab my email from somewhere, like they might not know, which is fine.
Fair.
I will have students who respond back, like even though like it's technically the end of the email convo because I answered their question and there's nothing pending beyond that. I will have students who respond back saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll remember next time. And I'm like, that's very sweet. Like you didn't have to apologize. Like I'm never getting an apology from a student, but like thank you, I appreciate it.
It's definitely a respectful thing.
Yeah. And I do have students from like I think specifically the Middle East area who it is norm if someone is a superior to you, you are to address them in a formal manner. So like not by first name. So I did have a student once who like I did say, hey, by the way, just call me Gray. Like I'm fine with that. Like no issue. And they said, hey, part of my like my culture is like since you're of like a superiority over me, it is very respectful that I call you by some like Mr. Miss last name. And like I was able to work with the student to find another option. So like we came up with Advisor Gray. So like they're still giving me like almost like an honorary title, but also not using my last name. So
oh, that's good. Nice, like a
compromise. So like I did that student because like she specifically said like, hey, I'm not comfortable just calling you by your first name. Can we like I'm like, sure, let's find a common. Like that's fine.
Much nicer than like something you're uncomfortable with and something they're uncomfortable as well. If it's especially if it's a culture thing as well. There's like obviously there are things you can do
because like I don't want to be that person who's like my pronouns and my idea is more than your culture.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's just like no.
Yeah.
So I've had like pretty good interactions. It's also a meme on the channel that my name is somehow not my name. So I get called Greg a lot over email. And to be fair, the G and the Y are very close to one another. So I'll get called, hi, Greg. I'm like, hi. Email signature, Gray. Like,
I wonder if on my phone it would come up as Greg as like Gray should come up as like the without.
My chat is already like the people from my chat in your chat are already like, here are the other names that Gray has been called. I've been called Cheryl, and I'm like, where did Cheryl come from? Like, I have no idea. The closest we've been able to figure that out was we have someone at the dean's level of our college who's also named Cheryl, and I'm like, but why are you talking to Cheryl? Because like she has nothing in relation to like what we do at the academic. Weird. I got called Jason to my face because we also have a Jason in our office. And the student had requested to meet with Jason. Jason is now a director, so he doesn't meet with students anymore. So I pulled him back. And my name card's on my desk. Like, I am not Jason. Jason is a 40-something-year-old white man who is tall. I am a 20-something-year-old femme-presenting person who is not tall. I'm like, I don't know how this person got got both of us confused. But like as he was walking out the door, because his back was turned to me at this point, so it's like not like I could correct him. But he also took my business card, I think. So he took my business card, was out my door, was like, "Thanks, Jason." And I'm like, "Huh?"
Oh.
Like, I'm like, thanks for thinking that I'm a man and that I am tall, but I am neither of those things. But thank you. Yeah, Gray, Greg, Cheryl, Jason. I'll also get called my last name, just my last name, no like honorific, just because like my last name can also look like a first name depending on how you spell it.
Right.
So I'm not gonna. I wish I had an example of like a different last name.
Yeah, and I want to give an example, but it could be I don't want to accidentally say something that I could not. Anyway.
Yeah,
but I can understand. I can imagine. I've got a random hair that's decided to.
Yeah, and like the typos of like I've not been called Aaron. No.
Okay.
Because like they don't know me as Aaron, they just know me as Gray. So like unless if they somehow like find my content creation socials, they won't know that Aaron is associated with me. Okay. But yeah, that'd be really funny if someone like Aaron.
That kid that found you on Instagram. They've had a way.
The 5th grader. Oh my goodness. To be fair, they did know my first and last name legally, so they were able to find me that way. But yeah, most of my socials now are like that I actively use are like my creator name, not my chosen or legal name.
That's fair. Best to be safe. Or trying.
Yeah, the students are pretty open. I usually don't bring up my like I am non-binary unless if they're like asking me. I do have like a little non-binary flag in my pen holder on my desk. I did have one of my coworkers, and he was saying this very much jokingly, like lightheartedly jokingly, not poking fun of like if a student asks you what that flag is, you should say it's the flag of Genova. I'm like, is that a reference? And he's like, yes, it's from Princess Diaries, I think. And I'm like, oh, I should probably watch that. I think it's Princess Diaries. It's one of those types of movies. Yes. And I'm like, interesting. But like, I don't want them to think like if someone like is in the queer community and is like genuinely asking me and thinking that I'm making fun of it, like I don't want to like do that. But just like if someone is being like genuinely not know and like make it as a joke, like, oh yes, the flag of Geneva. But yeah, I do have the flag on my desk, like also to kind of signal like, hey, I am a little fruity, so if you want to talk about fruity things, we can. Like I'm a safe space in that way.
It's nice to have those signals, those things. Don't know,
but it's not like
but the cuties seem to be from there. Yeah, I'm not sure where that is. I think that was Geneva, maybe not Geneva. I think that's the other. That's
Yeah, Genovia is Princess Diaries. I've not.
Yeah, gosh, it's been a long time since I've watched that. Probably with.
I've only watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail last year because my chat made me.
I watched a bit of it and didn't find it very funny. And
I
was
did
like,
find it
how
pretty
dare
funny.
you not find this? I don't know if it's.
It might be the type
of
of
humor.
Autism.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can see why someone would find it funny. Like my mum finds it hilarious, and for years she's like, oh, that's brilliant, or she'll make Monty Python references, and I'm like, huh? And I feel really bad when I don't find it funny, and everyone in chat is like, there've been a few people that are like, oh my god, can't believe you don't find it funny. Maybe I should give it another go.
No, that's fair. Like everyone has like different styles. Like I personally don't like slapstick, or like at least like my perception of slapstick. Like I just don't find like, or also like physical humor funny of like, oh hey, like we're gonna like prank someone and like put cushion on their chair. Like I just don't find that funny personally.
It has to be a specific thing for me to find funny. But yes, whoopee cushions.
Yeah, I've recently
hit and miss.
I've recently discovered that a lot of my own personal humor, especially like in Twitch chat, is referential humor. So I find it funny because like I understand the reference. So like, here's an example. So if a character in a video game or someone in chat says, "Are you?" my instinct is to sing "I Miss You" by Blink-182 because of the second verse where it's like, "Where are you?" And I'm that is my instant thought, and that's what I do. And like some people will understand it because like it's the "if you know, you know" type of thing. But like there's
people, this is bad to assume because just because I know it, I think a lot of people will know it, but actually a lot of people don't know it. But yes.
Yeah, and also because like a lot of like the references I make will be like to very obscure shit or like to inside jokes from like other conversations that are not part of like this conversation, you know? Yeah. Like I had to explain because so like I play Overwatch, and every April Fools they do an April Fools patch where they give the characters of the game different ultimate lines. So instead of like what they actually say, they say like something funny or like something that's like very like meta or like very funny from who it's coming as the character. And Susie knows exactly where I'm going. So after we played like this iteration of April Fools, this was in 2020. There's a character named Arisa, and her April Fool's alt line was "Yeehaw Rodeo," because like she's a giant horse. She kicks back on her hind legs and spins a javelin in the air. So I come to work after playing like the entire weekend doing Overwatch, and my coworker, like I'm talking to my coworker, and we end the conversation, and I'm like, "Yeehaw Rodeo," and he just cracks up. Did he have any idea? He's like, where did this come from? Because he doesn't understand, like he didn't understand Overwatch, but he was just like, what did you just say? I'm like, Yeehaw Rodeo. And like every now and then I'll pull that back out and like I'll get like a little chuckle from him because I had to explain to him like, oh yeah, it's from Overwatch. But it's like things like that. Like that is my humor, is like I like making references. So even if I'm the only one in the room who finds it funny, then
it's still funny.
So be it.
It's still funny. I think that's good. I think that reference, I would have no idea where it's from either, but I'd probably still find it funny just because it's so
random. Out there.
So random. Like, thank you so much, by the way. Yelling Jason to Jason like in Heavy Rain. Oh,
that is a Heavy Rain reference.
I still have to play Heavy Rain. That is one that I need to play. Also,
it is a ride. It is a trip.
I've heard a lot of good things, and I think when we were playing Detroit, I think we got recommended that among others.
Yeah, it's Heavy Rain crawled so Detroit could sprint.
Run.
You will see a lot of when you play Heavy Rain, you'll see like a lot of things that like David Cage was like took from Heavy Rain to put into Detroit. Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's so bad it's good, because there's definitely, I think, moments, and also I did not get the best ending. Like it was not the best ending, but it wasn't like the worst ending. But it was definitely a trip. I recommend playing it just because like it's kind of interesting.
Okay. Noted. Do you know what? That's it.
What's up?
Our time is coming up.
Oh man, wow. 3 hours went by fast.
That has gone by too fast, because I feel like I need to have a whole other stream just chatting to you, because this has been super fun. Like it really has.
It has, yeah.
I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so gutted. Sorry, British stuff. So gutted that it is like we've gone up to 3 hours. Light, also thank you so much for sending those gifts over there. We're in a couple of places. It's you need to experience this. Okay, noted. We do have Heavy Rain as well, so it's one of those like on the backlog, but it's been on the backlog for about 5 years. 3 hours has gone by so fast, hasn't it, chat?
I know.
Susie, you also, yeah, it's easily done. Gosh, is there one thing, before we finish, is there one thing that, like, in terms of friends, family, students, anyone that you would be in contact with at any point in your life, has there been any form of support that you've really appreciated? I've asked a few people this question. It's a very broad question, but for some there's like quite obvious answers, so you could say whatever you think is like the most obvious answer, but is there a form of support that you found really beneficial to you as a queer person in 2025 that is really beneficial? Basically, it's a way to educate people that, you know, this might be a good way of supporting a friend.
Right. I think just for me, like taking the time to listen and to not necessarily like to understand, but like, but not also not necessarily to empathize, but like just to listen, you know, because like I'll often say, or like when if someone's like coming to me, especially if like if a student is coming to me and is like venting about something, right?
Yeah.
Or what have you. Like our instinct is to be like, well, this is what you should do to fix. This is what you can do.
The fixes.
And I think right. And sometimes, and not to say like this like what I need, but it's more of like a like you don't have to fix it. Sometimes like I just need a space to just say like this is how I feel, or like to write down like this is my current thought on my gender or how I'm feeling. And like just knowing that like someone is there and is like reading what I'm saying, and like whether like an example is because like I like to joke that all of my friends are in my computer because they are.
Yeah.
They're in my computer, they're in my phone. So like Discord's our primary way of communication. So whether it be just like leaving an emoji, like a react to a message, or like saying like I can't understand because like I'm not non-binary, but like I empathize, or like something like that, or like just know like I'm here for you, whatever. Like those mean so much because like especially like in this day and age it's really hard to know, can trust, but it's a lot of like who's gonna be there in your corner during your worst moments. Not to say like this is a worst moment, but like
no, but like it's I know what you mean.
Because like it takes a lot for like people to open up about things, and if someone is not necessarily me, but if someone is taking the time to open up to you about like their identity, their journey, then that means they put trust in you, right?
For
and
sure.
the least you can do is to acknowledge it and say like I read this, like I got you. So like what Susie said, a Discord react says so many words.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like even if you just put like a reaction saying like yep, I read this, I got you, like that means so much, because it means like someone read, but they heard me, that I've been heard. And I think like a lot of us, like with how much, especially in online spaces, there's so much happening at once, there's so many things pulling our attention, that even just being able to like leave a like on a post or react to a message, because like I'll often do that, like I'm a big lurker, like both in like Twitch streams, on Twitter, Blue Sky, Discord. But like if someone does like an at everyone post and it's like, hey, I need to talk about this, like if there's no reacts on the post, like because usually like I'm chronically attached to Discord, so like I'm usually like one of the first people to see an at everyone message most of the time. But like if there's no reacts, I react to it, because it means like I read it, like I may not know how to respond, or like I may not feel close enough to you to like go into your general chat and be like, hey, like I read your message, okay. But like it at least like it, to me it translate across like, hey, I read your message, like you're heard, like I'm there, your message came across, that type of thing. And like we in my Discord, like we have like a channel, and like most of the time like I don't have the mental energy / stamina, or like I don't know if the person wants advice or a comment, but like I'll always try to react to the message so like that person feels like someone's there and they're listening and they care.
We have the same. We have we call it the venting space, but and also that you don't have to have a problem solved, or you don't have to solve the problem. Some people will want to do that, and some people might expect a response or some help. But I always try and just reiterate, like just know that it's not guaranteed. but that this is kind of a place to put it out into the ether, but it's not too far into the ether that no one's seen it. It's like, and usually, thankfully, we've been lucky that people will reach out and offer their advice or expertise, but most people know that they don't. It's not a must. And I for sure I half the time I'm just going through something at a particular part of the day, and I just need to type this somewhere, and I'd rather type it in a private venting space than in my or slightly private but community venting space than like on maybe Twitter, where maybe in a couple of hours I'll be like, oh shit, probably shouldn't have put that on
right
there. Yeah, it's just that. But you have some really, really good points, and honestly, like it's so important just being heard and knowing who those people are seen, right? The people that react and the people that show that they've listened, they're much louder than the rest of the silence, and it's nice. It does say so many words without saying any words. Yeah, I feel supported with things like that. So that's I really like that answer. That was really good. This whole stream was really good, and I'm gonna be like beaming. We play. I just feel so happy and like thankful that you've given us so much of your time to talk about things that mean stuff to you as well. So it's the passion is like it keeps me going, and it motivates me. And
of course, this
was community too.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. Thank you for reaching out and providing this opportunity. This was wonderful.
Oh, it's been a pleasure both ways. I'd love to do this again.
Yeah.
I'll have to message you on Discord and like set something else up, because that would be because also I've got to find where the raid train is as well for the guild. But again, you just 1,000 times thank you, Gray. Really appreciate you. And,
all being a little cutie back there.
I know, she's. I keep you today. I'm very grateful. I have to feed you all the dreamies later, if some scraps down to the basement or whatever. All right. See you later. Bye. And Gray's community, thank you so much for being so lovely. As we know, these kind of things, we're not as focusing on chat and all of that, but I'm really grateful that so many of you have been watching, and hopefully we've learned some new things there today, or we've kind of had some things to think about, because I certainly do, or have. And all right, let's see our plan for those that don't yet know. We are going to be playing some Final Fantasy next, but I'm going to end stream and we'll start again, because I know we normally have our TikTok. But we'll be doing both Twitch and YouTube and TikTok all in one, which is a lot, but you know, it's nice. It's nice to do that now. We've got Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to be playing some Final Fantasy next. I think 10-2 was on my list. That's what we have been playing. We'll see how that goes. I've kind of been itching to play more Tell Me Why. So maybe we'll have a poll at the start of stream. Wednesday, we've got more of the altars. And Friday, we have Tell Me. Next week, we have 2 discussion streams. We have one this Sunday. And I'll tell you more about that later on with Estella, who's going to be joining us later that week. So hopefully that wasn't too much information. But basically we've got some fun things planned, and Pride Month is still going strong. Pride lasts all year long. That rhymed and I didn't even mean it to. All right, let's find our raid target. I really love having conversations on kinds of good. Now, where is my tab? I've got many windows open. It's not that one. Bear with, it's not that one. It is it this one? Do you know what? I've got a thing in my Discord. Hello, is it Mikhail or is it Michael? I put it in the, I'm sure I put it in this place. Yes, I did. Okay. Sorry, my brain was malfunctioning. Now, where are we? This is their at. We're going to raid. Hello. Hello there. I'm just going to finish this stream, but I'll be back in about 10 minutes with some Final Fantasy. So, let me just... Right, there we go. Rock. And we'll see you again soon. Now for you. Shredding a Kitten is the place we're going to. I'm going to open their stream up so that I've got them on, so that should we want to watch an advert, we can do that and then we can hear them when we raid in. Yes, we have an advert, so that's cool. All right, and I guess that leaves for our gaming segment, or I'll see you on Wednesday for our next full stream. All right, now then, I'm going to set up the raid. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon. All right, make the most of your lives. You only get one, and it's really important that you enjoy it as best you can. Okay. No, that's not what I